Yes. Long delay. You don't see technicals behind the scenes, not going to hide them. All these technicals, but it does happen. And hopefully, God will guide I and I, and once again have smoother on time, a little bit late, 10 minutes or so right here. Also, sometimes we get like temporary, blocks on certain things that we have to just reason, articulate, and explain to, sometimes some so much. And as ones know that later on these podcasts will be freed up. So sometimes right after the podcast, they're free up for a while, but then, some disputes come in and they're always clarified. And most times the podcasts are available for review, and check out. So please give thanks. If you come across any of those difficulties, just let us know. LOJS.org. There's a contact there, or those who are on any of the other groups, WhatsApp, so forth and so on. Just give a heads up on that right there, and we'll definitely deal with that. But here, once again, the BTR Blog Talk Radio having some difficulties. We still are, seeking to be a little bit patient with them, but still inquiring into new opportunities, platforms. Those of us who do have the science and technology want to really encourage, we talk about, our people, so-called Black people in the Americas and the Caribbean, our inventions and creation. Well, we still have to be inventive and creative. But anyway, enough said on that right there. Let's pick up with a tune right here, Zebulon Dub System on Going to Zion, as we work some things out in the background, and then we'll be forward here. We have a double portion. Nitzavim, one standing, and Vayelech. Nitzavim standing ones the 51st and the 52nd. Sabbatical study here, a double portion for this Shabbat strong. But here going to Zion. Question, are we Zionist? Yeah, more heat. Yeah, about the African Zion. Yes, the African Zion. So in that context, we are, quote, Zionists or pro-Zion, Sion. Here going to Zion. Oh.
Yes, I'm going to Zion, to Zion. I'm going to Mount Zion.
Yes. Going to Zion. Zion. That's Zebulun Dub System right there. We're going to review right here. Yeah, I'm going to get the screen ready. All right, grab your pen, your paper, Sacred Scripture, Bible. Yes, I'm going to get into the teaching. We had the previous Torah reading and feeding the 50th. In the 50th, for Ki Tabo, some very interesting subject matters we need to address. Even the matter about tithes. What's the true order of the tithe? What does Torah really say? So one can see the falsity, of those who push it, right, nowadays in Christianity, and also in pseudo-prosperity ways and deceiving the people, right, daily. But here, we want to review the previous Torah reading and feeding Ki Tabo. Here. This is the audible from the previous Torah reading and feeding. Let me see if I can get that verse. I'm going to try to pull up the verse so you can see it on the screen. But hear this right here. This one did all of Israel. So we see the curses, the consequences for disobedience, right? Did all of Israel, right, fall, right? Did all of Israel fall, right? I want to speak about the unconditional and unconditional. People speak about this is unconditional, but we do see conditions in Torah. Right, in the Torah of Moshiach, to say the new covenant sense, but also the Torah of Moshe, because the core, the principle, as the Imperial Master Mahatma Selassie says, principle like above all, right? Principle first, right? Hating thy brother. Also touch on this theme right here. This is a segue. Here we have a double portion, but we need to touch on some of the teaching, because otherwise, when you jump into a later area of the book, if you didn't really pay attention to a previous chapter or some things that was explained over here, by the time you get over here, you would understand it correctly. You will overstand it better, right? So while we get this ready right here, let's go into the evening psalm for the second day of the Shabuah, right? Shabuah Tov, a good strong, good week, a good 7 right here. Here the second day. Here for the Shani day, we have here, Psalm 48.
Psalm 48.
Mizmor Memchet, Shir Mizmor Livne Korah.
Great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised in the city of our God, in the mountain of his holiness. Beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth, is Mount Zion on the sides of the north, the city of the great King. God is known in her palaces for a refuge, for lo, the kings were assembled. They passed by together. They saw it, and so they marveled. They were troubled and hasted away. Fear took hold upon them there, and pain as of a woman in travail. Thou breakest the ships of Tarshish with an east wind. As we have heard, so have we seen in the city of the Lord of hosts, in the city of our God. God will establish it forever. Selah. We have thought of thy loving kindness, O God, in the midst of thy temple. According to thy name, O God, so is thy praise unto the ends of the earth. Thy right hand is full of righteousness. Let Mount Zion rejoice. Let the daughters of Judah be glad because of thy judgments. Walk about Zion, and go round about her. Tell the towers thereof. Mark ye well her bulwarks, consider her palaces, that ye may tell it to the generation following. For this God is our God forever and ever. He will be our guide forever, 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 forever.
Psalm 48, evening psalm for the second day, is chanted in the temple, right here, and chanted in the Iritical temple, Hebrew, double eyes.
מזמור מ"ח, שיר מזמור לבני קורח. גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד, בעיר אלוהינו הר קודשו. יפה נוף משוש כל הארץ, הר ציון ירכתי צפון, קריית מלך רב. אלוהים בארמנותיה נודע למשגב, כי הנה המלכים נועדו, עברו יחדיו. המה ראו כן תמהו, נבהלו נחפזו. רעדה אחזתם שם, חיל כיולדה. ורוח קדים תשבר אוניות תרשיש. כאשר שמענו כן ראינו, בעיר אדוני צבאות, בעיר אלוהינו. אלוהים יכונניה עד עולם סלע. דימינו אלוהים חסדך בקרב היכליך. כשמך אלוהים, כן תהילתך על קצווי ארץ, צדק מלאה ימינך. ישמח הר ציון, תגלנה בנות יהודה למען משפטך. שופו ציון והקיפוה, ספרו מגדליה. שיטו לבכם לחילה, פסגו ארמנותיה. למען תספרו לדור אחרון, כי זה אלוהים אלוהינו עולם ועד, הוא ינהגנו על מות.
Psalm 48.
מזמור מ"ח, שיר מזמור לבני קורח.
Great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised in the city of our God, in the mountain of his holiness. Beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth, is Mount Zion on the sides of the north, the city of the great king. God is known in her palaces for a refuge. For lo, the kings were assembled. They passed by together. They saw it, and so they marveled. They were troubled and hasted away. Fear took hold upon them there, and pain as of a woman in travail. Thou breakest the ships of Tarshish with an east wind. As we have heard, so have we seen in the city of the Lord of hosts, in the city of our God. God will establish it forever. Selah. We have thought of thy loving kindness, O God, in the midst of thy temple. According to thy name, O God, so is thy praise unto the ends of the earth. Thy right hand is full of righteousness. Let Mount Zion rejoice. Let the daughters of Judah be glad because of thy judgment. Walk about Zion and go round about her. Tell the towers thereof. Mark ye well her bulwarks. Consider her palaces, that ye may tell it to the generation following. For this God is our God forever and ever. He will be our guide forever, 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 forever.
Yeah, call unto Yah. Yes. Right there. Psalm 48, the Hebrew, and then we had the English right there. But here, because we got enough here, double portion here. We have the previous Kitabo, the 50th sabbatical study Shabbat Strong. And from any of the questions that people ask, and we people, be asking, concerning the scripts. Oh man, the window just went out right there. Okay, having a little bit of difficulty here, but we're gonna work on this. Yeah, we're gonna work on this in the background right here. You know, sometimes the technology, the wires, different things. You got to buy different things, have to back up different things. It's a part of the, the work that we must do. But sometimes, it's just challenging. Anyway, thing just went off right there again. We'll try to bring it up. But here we're going to share this right here, some reasonings, right, on the previous Torah portion for continuity purposes right here. Did all Israel fall?
Now here's the question that needs to be asked. Did all of the Israelites and all of the B'nai Yisrael come under the curses? Ha-kalalot, the curses for disobedience, the curses for lo tishma'a b'koli Yahuwah. Did all of the Israelites? No. The majority, the great overwhelming majority of the sons, the children of Yisrael, so-called black man, black and brown man, especially here, these Americas and the Caribbean, especially here, after 400 plus years. So we have to address some things of this false idea of unconditional love. Are the barakot, are the blessings, and were the blessings, are they given unconditionally to Yisrael? Are they given unconditionally to Israel? Let's look at what was said before the great rebuke, the great tokaha and the tokahot. We have 98 tokahot between the verses 15 and 68 in Deuteronomy chapter 28. But first, before the great tokaha, before the great rebuke, the great reproof, for the sake of correction, a tokaha is a confrontation over sin, over uckery, over fornication under the crown of the lack, whether it's an actual chatiyat, whether it's an actual chet, actual sin, forfeiture, lack, missing the mark, or the possibility of ucking up, the possibility of lacking, as we have in Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17. And what does it say in Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17? It says, thou, the I, male, shall not hate achika, the I, brother. Wendeme, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin, not suffer uckery, not suffer sin up on him, and not suffer sin upon him. Lo tisna eta achika, thou shalt not hate thy brother. Be levaveka, in thy heart. Lo tisna eta achika, be levaveka. Thou shalt surely reprove thy neighbor. Hokeyacha, tokiyacha, eta emiteka. And not be a sin, not be a uckery because of him. With lo tisa alayo cheta. So when you say, as many people say, foolishly and falsely, oh, I'm not going to tell so-and-so what they did. They should know what they did. I'm not going to say nothing. That's a violation. That's a violation right there. Because there's a possibility of ucking, there's a possibility of lacking, but you're not going to say nothing. But that's where the hate in your heart. We say, why there's so much hate among black people, among black men? Why so much hate? Because of the lack of rebuke and the lack of receiving rebuke, the lack of correction and the receiving of correction. This is why the word says and reveals to us what it reveals to us, that thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Lo tisna eta achika bi levaveka. Thou shalt surely rebuke thy neighbor. Hokeyacha tokiyacha eta emiteka. And not bear sin. So one bears sin, right? One bears sin, one bears uckery. When one says, I'm not going to tell one what they did, I'm not going to say, with lo tisa alayo cheta. Be levaveka, in thy heart, right? In thy heart. Has not given them a heart to do what? To perceive. Ones don't perceive this. Some still don't perceive this in the heart. Why? We're to reprove. That's an act of love. Correction is an act of love. See, all these commands relate. They relate to the feelings. You want to talk about feelings? You want to talk about feelings? This relates to the feelings, the commands, the mitzvot, the commands. They relate to the feelings of haleb, right? Of the lib, of the heart. Upon their obedience depends a secure, the social life of Ja people and of we, the black people, the ones lost now found, Bait Yisrael, it depends upon our hearing, giving ear, and carrying it out. It depends upon a secure social life, the obedience, right, to the commands, and even the commands to reprove and rebuke. For was not the second temple in 70 AD destroyed on account of vain hatred? Vain hatred. I say, oh, I don't hate my brother. Do you correct your brother? Oh, it's not my place. I'm not to say because there's nobody perfect. So from so on, what the word says, Lo tisna eta achika bi lebabeka, because if you don't reprove or rebuke your neighbor, your brother, you hate him. This is how hate develops in the heart. And you bear the sin, the uckery, because of your failure to correct, your failure to reprove your neighbor. Lo tisna eta achika bi lebabeka, ho keyacha tokiyacha eta emiteka, lo tisa alayo cheta. Now in the application to Yisrael, to so-called black man, woman and child, but beginning with the black man, this refers to a warning and a prophecy of certain fearful judgment and progressively painful punishment if the terms of the covenant are unfulfilled. So before the great rebuke was delivered, Moshe, he lists a series of barakot, blessings, that will result from observing HaTorah, observing Jah's direction, instructions, the teaching of his majesty. Can you list some of these barakot? We find them in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 1 to 14. Various forms of prosperity. Talk about why we're not prospering. We, the so-called black people, black man, why we're not prospering? Because there's not a reproof. There's not that true love. Right? There's not that true hearing. Shema'ah Yisrael. But upon the Shema'ah, upon the rightful Tokaha, there are various forms of prosperity that will, according to the words of HaTorah, pursue and overtake Ha'am, Ami. If I and we obey HaTorah, Jah's direction, instruction, we obey the teaching of his majesty. This includes the fruitfulness of the land, the abundance of children, a surplus of food provisions, the establishment of Yisrael as Ha'elohim, the true good, the true God, holy nation, set apart people, set apart nation that would be invincible among the nations, Ha-Goyim, in warfare, and an overall shalom, peace, protection, guidance, protection, and power that comes from Ha'el, the power, Ha-Elohim, the true good, the true God. So when I ask the question, did all the Israelites, have all the Israelites fallen under the curses of disobedience? No, not all of the Israelites. We have the remnant peoples, even the Israelites, we even have the Israelites of Ethiopia, the Israelites of the east of the river now, with the Israelites. We have those remnant tribes, the people, because here in the very same chapter that we have the 98 ha'kalalot, the curses, the consequence of disobedience, we also have the barakot, the blessings for obedience. So to the next question, are these barakot, are these blessings given unconditionally? This lie of unconditional, were they given unconditionally to Yisrael? Sounds nice, but it's not according. It means that if you believe that, it's true. Lo tishma b'koli Yahuwah, that you're not hearing, you're disregarding. And the disregarding, so if we hear the voice, we recognize that the barakot was not given unconditionally. It was not given unconditionally. And not all of the Israelites fell under the curses, but the great majority, the overwhelming majority of the Bnei Yisrael have come and fallen under the curses, the consequences of disobedience. But there is the remnant. And so we have the Lion of Judah, the Lion of the tribe of Judah upon the throne of great King David, because those receive the barakot that were given. See, the barakot, the blessings, will be and were bestowed only if only if the people obeyed the commandments of Ha'el, the true good, the true God of Elohim. Note that the only way out of the terms of the Sinai covenant, as renewed, it was renewed in the plains of Moab, would be through the institution of an entirely new covenant, the Berit Chadasha. Otherwise, the old covenant remains in force. The old covenant remains in effect. This is why when we're speaking about love one another, or we should love one another, we hear a lot of talk of love. But are ones regarding or disregarding the Koli Yahuwah, the Koli, the Kol, the Kal, regarding the word, the voice of Jehovah. See, some say that the opposite of love is hate. But it has also been said that the opposite of love is not hate, but rather a sense of indifference. See, so it says, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart, but to rebuke. When you start to not reprove or correct your brother, this is where the hate develops, beginning with that indifference. See, it's the indifference. This is what explains why the tokahot, the punishments, the chastisements, would come if the people left their first love. Yisurim shel ahava, the troubles of love. The troubles of love, leaving their first love. The tokahot, the punishments given to Yisrael, are intended. And why were they given? It's intended to help Ha'am return to Shuba, to help I and I, both individually, indivisible, dual in the individual sense, and also in the communal, the collective sense, to turn from your astray way, and to give ear to the Koli Yahuwah, to the word, to regard the word of Jehovah. To return to he who he be, and to re-embrace his love, right? His love by keeping his word and fulfilling his commandment. This is the teaching of his majesty. Shema, Yisrael, Shema, O Israel, 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 O Israel.
Hear, O Israel. Hear, O Israel. Hear, O Israel. Hear, O Israel.
We can rely on the conquering lion. Most lighter, you're the only one we can rely on. The conquering lion. Most lighter, you're the only one we can rely on. You know we are Israelite. Man, stand his plan. All he needs to do is follow the spirit, which is legit. That is how we'll all grow. Know him, Elohim. Man, stand his plan. All he needs to do is follow. Man, stand his plan. Man, stand his plan. Man, stand his plan. All he needs to do is follow the spirit, which is legit. That is how we'll all grow. Know him, Elohim.
Yes. So here the verse, Leviticus 19 and 17. 19:17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Interesting. You know, it says heartical, right? And there's artificial, but it says, thou shalt not hate thy brother. Here, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. That audible right there, that was just a basic kind of a first. It was like after Torah study, that point came to heart and mind and started to reason, you know, in I and I self, and also then with some of the other brothers as well, the Chabarim. So we did that audible there, but building on that right there, Leviticus Vayikra 19:17. What a year. 19:17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. You see the colon right there after heart? You know, these little diacritical marks and everything, when we understand it, what comes after that kind of brings out, that is to say, right? Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Well, that is to say, thou shalt in any wise rebuke or reprove thy neighbor, and it says, not suffer sin upon him. Now, that's the KJV translation. Here we got the KJV light up, right? So let's hit the note for a moment. It says, that thou be not sin, chatiat or chet, for him. So let's build on this right here. Going to segue to the tokahot. Now, tokahot, right, or tokaha. We touched on it a little bit earlier, previous Shavua. That links with this word here for rebuke. So here we have the H3198, yakach, right? Yakach, Right? What does it mean? BDB, Brown's Drivers Briggs, defines it as to reprove, decide, judge, rebuke, reprove, correct, be right. Now, the different the grammar, different senses of the word, past, present, um, intensive, reflexive, so forth and so on are brought out here. The he feel sense to decide, judge, to appoint, or to judge, like adjudicate, right? To show, to be right, to prove some of the senses of the root word, to convince, to convict, right? To reprove, chide, to correct, to rebuke. Then we have the whole fellow sense, like one who has been, chastened, the nephil sense, the sense of like reasoning, right? The reasoning together. And then the heat pa'el sense, the reflexive part of the Hebrew, like going back and forth, almost like to argue. So it's almost like you come to reprove somebody, right? It can get into the heat pile sense when they kind of argue back. So you kind of going back and forth. So the different senses of the Hebrew is what we find in the biblical Hebrew that brings out the context from the shoresh, the root. So here we add a primitive shoresh, shoresh or shoresh. You can say shoresh, but bringing out the full tone of the biblical Hebrew, shoresh, 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 shoresh. The root right here is a verb. Now, Strong's, we like to compare contrast right here between the BDB, Brown's Drivers Briggs. I see in Safari, that software right there, they like the BDB. Right? I didn't even know that, but Strong's definition is a good point of reference. But then, of course, to kind of like, what do you say, get a second opinion, right? A primitive root, to be right, yakach, that is to be correct. Now, this is the root of the tokaha. Tokaha. What is a tokaha? We touched on it in, I think it was a John J. Parsons share. Let's see if we can bring this up right here. Might not be able to bring it on the screen right now, but it's the curses. Yeah, the curses of the law. Further thoughts on tokecha ki tabo, right? Of ki tabo. We had Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 to 68 within the KJV Bibles, verse 15 to verse 69 in the Hebrew. Be that as it may, we had the tokachot, some call it, or the lalot, the curses, consequences, or the rebukes, the reproofs, the chastisements. Now, often reading these tokachot, these Deuteronomy 28, verse 15 to 68, it can be difficult. It can be even painful, especially, if you know the truth and the right, and you know that you're an Israelite, especially in light of the persecution, the tragedies that have befallen the Beit Yisrael people, right? The Yehudi tribe of Judah people, right? And the quote, you say Jewish people, right? Those especially who are Torah observant, over the millennia, right? So we have the tokachot, right? The rebukes that were given to the Beta Israel, the house of Yisrael, the Bnei Yisrael, the sons of Israel, to call Yisrael to all Israel in HaTorah. Now, the first one that we find actually is in the book of Leviticus. We had touched on that. Leviticus chapter 14 to verse 16. So go check it out. So there's two sets of rebukes. And the word tokecha, right, comes from this word right here that we have on the screen right here, yakach, right, tokecha, right? We have brought that out before. I think it was, what was it? Chastisement. Was it the word chastisement? Let's see right here. Let's see if we can do this right here. Let's see if we have this in our previous search. So one can see all the search words right here. Let me see if it's over here. It should be here. Right. Okay. Sometimes, yeah. Okay. Tokeha. We had it right there. What's that? Give me one moment, because sometimes the translation of a root word is not always one for one, right? In the translation, so sometimes we have to, go and do our study right here. Let's put, is it under correct? Let's see if it's correction. I know I didn't spell it there, but the machine think it's smarter, so we'll go with them, right? Right? Because they have Shebat. Okay, that's from Job, an older book. You see right here? You see on the screen where the words correction. One is the H7626, right? That's from Job. Eo, said to be one of the older books. It has an older Afro-Semitic, Ivrit, if you call it Hebrew, Yehudit. And, it's interesting, the different layers. Like look in the KJV Bible, thee, thou, that kind of language there. Ye, thou, thee, want, what was that? What, I wot not. What, I wot not. What? It took me a while to kind of look it up and figure that out. It means I know not, like one what not, and he what not. He what not, what not, what not, what? He did not know. That's old. So we can tell by looking at English, there's different layers of English. That's Victorian, that's Shakespearean, that's King Jamesian, and this is modern, so forth and so on. American English, English in other places. But here, the same is true for Hebrew. But you notice there's two different words right there. The H7626 next to correction, and there's the H8433. What's the H8433? Is this our word? There we go. That's the word right there. So when we're speaking about tokeha, the tokeha, right? Tokeha and the tokehat. Tokahat, tokeha, tokahat. What is a tokeha? What is this? Tokeha, right? It's rebuke, correction, reproof, punishment, chastisement, the first entry. So in the first sense, we find it not the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law. In the first sense, as rebuke, correction, reproof, punishment, chastisement. Secondarily, the tokeha and tokahat is argument, reproof, argument. You see impeachment, reproof, chiding, correction, rebuke. But you see where it says the origin from, right? So we're going to dig down to the shoresh. Let's bottom out the word, get to the shoresh, right? The H3198, yakach. So that's the same as in our verse in Leviticus, right? Same as, right? This is the root word right here, yakach. Yakach means like, it says to prove, to decide, to judge in that context, reprove, rebuke, reprove, correct, be right. So one's going to understand that. I'm going to repeat it, but as one's, hopefully, Chabarim, Talmudim, as you study, you'll get it, right? Yakach. Right, this is how you find the root words, like in this sense, when you get to the root word, right? But when you look at the root right here, it says to prove, to decide, to judge. Or let's go down to Strong's right here, to be right. It means, in the context of the language, yakach would be the third person male singular. The third person male singular. So it's like he be right, he argue, he decide, he justify, he convict. You get it? So this is how you just look up the root word right there, yakach, right? And then you have the word when it gets built, when it gets built and put into different contexts. So the tokeha come from yakach, right? So some things like some things might get dropped, like say the yod or aleph in the beginning, because they are like light letters. They're not weak letters, but light letters. Sometimes even at the end, the hey, the H might get dropped, as it goes through its dikduk, the grammar, you know what I mean? And the binyani, right? The binyani, and the building, as we build, binyani, right? Right there. Not, yeah, it sounds like Benjamin, but it's not quite, Benjamin, but it sounds similar, but not the same. So this basically means if you were to read somewhere in the scripts and say yakach, how would you interpret it? You wouldn't interpret it as to be right, but like he be right, right? Or he argued, he decided, he convicted, or he rebuked. You know what I'm saying? So this is just the roots in the Hebrew and other Afro-Shemitic language. Even the Ge'ez is usually found, right, in the third person male singular sense. That's just an easy point of reference in the lexicons, so forth and so on. But it also proves to be an ideal way to source out, right, and to get the root idea, right? But now as that word is built up, we get this word right here, the tokaha, right, the tokaha. So often what we have in, that's called the curses for disobedience in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 to 68, as well as a rebuke, the tokaha, that we have in Leviticus, Vayikra, Leviticus chapter 26, verse 14 to 46. The first one in Leviticus chapter 26, verse 14 to verse 46, right, is the short one. It's a short form. When we get to the second rebuke, the longer one, this is what's found in the key Tambo Torah reading and feeding. That's in Deuteronomy 28, verse 15 to 68. The rebuke in Leviticus, Wayikra, as we mentioned, it ends with some measure of tikwa, or some would say modern Hebrew tikva, hatikva. What's hatikva? Hatikwa, fully enunciated, is like hope, expectation, tikwa. It comes from like the word like cord, like you're pulling this to yourself. That when we get into the other details of it, but we have some hope or expectation. In Leviticus 26, verse 44, says, yet for all that, after going through a series of rebukes, tokechot, it says, yet for all that, when they are in the land of their enemies, I would not spurn them, or neither will I abhor them, so as to destroy them utterly. That's all the other audible there. Did all of Yisrael, did all of the Israel and the Israelites, right? The tribe of Judah and the Israelites, did all of them fall under the curses, the consequence of disobedience? I mean, can we apply this and say, well, you're an Israelite if you're only an Israelite if you come under the curses for disobedience? Can we come to that faulty conclusion, as many of the other Israelites that call themselves Black Hebrews have? No, we cannot, right? Because there is the blessing, right? The baraka, and there's the kalala, right? And it's a choice factor. What do you choose? If we say, well, we're Israelite because we can see we and our ancestors have come under this, that means we had a lot of disobedient ancestors, all right? And then we see other Israelites, like the Israelites of Ethiopia, or other Israelites, especially the Israelites of Ethiopia, and they did not, right? Historically, I'm talking about past, all right? I'm talking about past, right? Past, right? So it says, yet for all of that, when they are in the land of their enemies, I will not spurn them, neither will I abhor them, so as to destroy them utterly and break my covenant, break bariti, my covenant with them. For I, Yahweh, their Elohim. That's what we have in Leviticus chapter 26, verse 44. But when we get to Ki Tabo, 50th sabbatical study, Shabbat strong, the rebuke, the tokecha in Ki Tabo, when you enter in, it intensifies. It gets hotter and hotter and hotter. You know, in the terms of the kalalo, the curses, the consequences, it's like Yahweh really says, if you don't listen to me, I'm gonna go ham on you. That's a Hebrew term. Chama, chema, his anger, his rebuke. But basically it means his heat, right? He's going to heat it up, intensifying without any sense, seemingly when you read through Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 to verse 68, any sense of reprieve. There's no sense of reprieve, right? No sense of reprieve in those reproofs, right? Indeed, the longer rebuke. Now, here's the key thing I wanted to share before we just continue right here. The longer rebuke. So there's two rebukes in Torah. Notice that many of the other Israelites that might call themselves Black Hebrew Israelites, notice something, that they often only focus on Deuteronomy 28, verse 15 to 68. But watch this. Many of them, who do eat, they come and, grab some bread from over here from I, Chabarim, Talmudim. They're going to start to talk about it. Right. That's why we say just study to show yourself approved. Right. Just hopefully we're sharing some best practices and procedures toward Torah study. Right. As Paul, Rabbi Shaul said, he said that, many of them have a zeal, they're zealous, but it's not according to da'at, knowledge. Come, make me study, right? Make me be like Torah portion study buddies, so to speak, right? Study this. You know what I mean? So we can become familiar with what's written there. But many will say, this is not in the Bible, and you haven't really studied, right? So we have two rebukes, two sets of reproofs. One in Leviticus chapter 26, verse 14 to verse 46, the short form, that has some measure of hope or good expectation at the end, while we get the longer one in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 to verse 68. Right? We're just zooming in on the curses, the consequences. But let it be known there's also barakot, right? There's also blessings, right? Also blessings. Some of you say, well, the blessing won't come until like Moshiach comes. No, the blessings won't come until your obedience comes. That's what it says, right? You know, he's always faithful to his word, not your word, not my word, but his word, right? Indeed, the longer rebuke contains no less than 98 curses. This is what's very interesting, right? The one in Deuteronomy chapter 28 has no less than 98. 98 kalalot, or curses or consequences, tokahot, right? While, right, Leviticus contains how many? And ones who's paying attention will know Leviticus chapter 26, verse 14 to verse 46, about how many curses, kalalot, tokahot, reproofs, right, rebukes are in Leviticus chapter 26. 49. Anybody know math? Anybody's good at math? 98 curses in the long form and 49 curses, consequences in the short form. Is this a coincidence? Is it just, coincidental? No, it's not. Right? According to the ancient sages, the earlier rebuke, the earlier one in Leviticus 26, right? The earlier rebuke, it foretold some of the sages, ancient sages, right, from even the BC time, coming into the early AD period, and still observed by later day Jews, some of this information that's right and accurate. The earlier rebuke given in Leviticus foretold the destruction of the first Haykal, the first temple, and the Babylonian exile of the tribe of Judah. Right, the tribes of Israel, the 10 tribes, they went into other areas. You know, we know that from the scripts, from history, right? Whereas the later rebuke in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 to 68, right, it foretold the destruction of the second Haykal, or the second temple, and the Roman exile. Did you know that the Roman exile continues to this day? The Roman exile of the tribe of Judah, right, i.e., by extension, the Beta Yisrael, continues to this very day in the diaspora, right, in the diaspora. So that math right there, the 98 curses, right, within Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 to 68, is twice as long, right, as the Leviticus chapter 26, verse 14 to 46. So in Leviticus, there are as many as 49 distinct curses, consequences mentioned. And in Deuteronomy, right, chapter 28, there are 98. Right? There are 98. So here we just went here so we can bring out this word tokeha, right? Because if you go here, like even here, this proves that sometimes the translation is not one for one. So if you came in here at 3:11, where it says, "My son Beni, despise not the chastening." Look at this, the chastening, right? Notice the word chastening here is musar, which is a chastening, a discipline, right? And it's also a correction. So remember, we're dealing with English here. All right. So when we see that these words are similar but not the same, this should prompt our study. Right? What is the difference? This is where you get understanding. See, understanding in Hebrew is known as bina, but it comes from the Hebrew bean, like a bean. But bean, right, is related to the Hebrew bain, not just ben, but bain, right? Bain, which means to between. It means between. So the key understanding of understanding is being able to discern between things that are very similar, but that are not the same, right? That's understanding. It's a good understanding, where, for example, there's curses, consequences, blessings, and curses in Leviticus 26 and in Deuteronomy 28. Can you discern between the blessings and the curses? Can you discern between the curses, the consequences in Leviticus and those in Deuteronomy, right? How they are similar, but not always quite the same, but they all are what will befall Yisrael. But note this here too. There's two sets of them, right? Leviticus and Deuteronomy. But there were two, we could say, dispersions, right, of Israel as a whole. When we look at Israel as a whole, There was first the 10 tribes, northern tribes. They went, they went off, they went out, right? And then we had later on the tribe of Judah, right? That's why today when we speak about the New Testament and we say the Jews or we say Yehudi or Hay Yehudim, we keep emphasizing that. We say, well, the Israelites in the New Testament, when we talk about the Judeans, primarily speaking about the tribe of Judah, right? Basically, as we would say, the tribe of Judah carried the swing, right? After the 10 tribes was taken out of Yahweh's presence and scattered among the nations, right? But then look at the fact that we have these two dispersions, the 10 tribes, right? Joseph or Ephraim, right? Prophetically referred to as Ephraim. And then we have the tribe of Judah, right? And then also see the interesting link that we have between these two mentions of blessings and curses and consequences. But it says, my son, despise not the chastening of Yahweh, the discipline of Jehovah, neither be weary of his tokecha, of his rebuke or his correction, right? Of his rebuke, of his correction. Notice over here, you see over here, Proverbs 7:22, the King James translator says, what it says, as a fool to the correction of stocks, right? Straightway. You somebody say straightway? Suddenly. Okay, here the H4148 is Musar again. All right, so this is a question for the Chavarim who are into studies. What is the difference between Musar, right, and Tokecha? Right? What is the difference? What's the similarity, but what's the difference? Right? But notice right here, we see that's always not one for one. Right? It's always not one for one here. You see a lot of the words for correction here, right, is the H4148. That's the Musar. We're scrolling until we get to the 8, the one with 8, the one we just showed you right there. Let's see right here. This one has the 3198. Now this is the root word, yakach, of tokecha, right? The root word, rebuke, right? Here we have, okay, now that's the New Testament, 2 Timothy 3:16. But it's a good verse. Let's read it. All scripture given by the inspiration of Elohim, profitable for doctrine or for teaching, right? For reproof, right? For correction, for instruction in righteousness, right choiceness. Now, one more place we want to touch on right here, just before we go forward right here. Okay, and Esau ain't just something when we search hate and heart. We just did a search on hate and heart. Something to find the verse we're looking for. We might remember unique words, not the and of and, but unique words in the sentence or a name in the sentence, and try to look up, exactly as the KJV, so when we're using KJV, so, what I mean? So, and Esau hated Jacob because of the what? Baraka, the empowerment to prosper, wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. But notice where he said this. He said it in his heart. But notice their mother, Rebecca, she knew this. Wait. But if Esau said in his heart, how did Rebecca know this? Right? Because the Holy Spirit was with that matriarch right there. Right? Remember, to her, it was revealed to two manners of people, not to Isaac, who was legally blind and wanted to go off and, bless the one who had sold his birthright. Right? He can get a blessing, but it must be a secondary blessing. It can't be the blessing of the firstborn, because if you sold your firstborn, if you sold your firstborn status, you don't have the firstborn status. Check. But see, he probably kept that in his heart as well, right? Esau. But there's ones who love to defend Esau. Talking about they love Christ and they love Israel, the Israelites, but they always make an excuse for Esau. Wonder why. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17. But we're still not to abhor Esau, right? We're not to abhor Esau, for he is our brother. Neither are we to abhor the Nitzavim, the ancient Egyptians, who were strangers in their land. Right? We can dislike their practices or what they do, if it's wrong, if it's against Yahweh, truth, and life. But don't get that in your heart. Don't get that in your mind. Don't get that in your center, because then you're going to be off balance. You're going to be off center. Leviticus 19:17 says, thou shalt not hate. right? Sane. So the root word is sane. Right? I make a pun of this. Sane. It's like being insane. Right? Insane, right? In hatred, insane, insane. To hate, to be hateful, hater, one hating, hater. You know, the hate can be of persons, of nations. The hate can be of God. The hate can be of chokmah, of Ainai, of mother wisdom, as Robbeinu Yeshua said, that wisdom is justified, made righteous by all of her children, right? So hate, the verb right here, to hate. You see, but in this sense, like hate personally, right? This is like a personal hatred, right? You know, personal hatred, right? It says, "Thou shalt not hate achika." Another point right here. Some say ak. Are you speaking Arabic? Does it say ak? Right? Yeah, they're similar, but not the same. Remember what we said about Bina, about understanding, you know, to understand how they're similar but not the same. You know, it's like how can I say? Okay, many ones might know this. It's like somebody from Jamaica, right? And then somebody from Trinidad. For us here in America, some of us, right, we might hear one or the next, and they might sound very much similar, right? But they can distinguish, right? Can't they? See, it's the same sense here, right? So this is not ak. Ak is if you're speaking what's that called? Arabic. Yeah, there we go. Ak. Aki. Right? Aki and sulfate. No, aki, right? But actually in Hebrew is ach. People say, oh, that letter there is Yiddish. This is some stupid people. No, and I gotta say, it's just some stupidity. Come on, it's just stupidity. Have you been studying the language? No, you know, but you think you're an Israelite. Okay, it's ach, ach, right? Ach, right? It's a ach. Yeah, that's what it is. So here's achi, right? Achi, right? Brother, right? So thou shalt not hate thy brother where? In thy heart. Notice this right here. Let's scroll back. We're just looking up hate and heart. All right. The 6 verses on hate that have both hate and heart. The first place is Bereshit, Genesis 27:41. And I saw, right? I saw, right? Esau hated Jacob, right? Esau hated Yaakov, right? Because of the Baraka. You know what I mean? The Arab Mohammedan world hated, you know what I mean? The Ethiopian and the black Jews and Christians, yeah, because of the baraka, right? But let's go on right here. Thou shalt not hate achika, right, in thy heart, right? Thou shalt in any wise. What's that right there? Notice this right here. See. Are you seeing? Look at the numbers. Just look at the numbers, y'all. Look at the numbers. Thou shalt in any wise. The number behind is supposed to refer to what they were working with in translation. It's the H3198. You see that? Then it says rebuke. You see the word rebuke? What number is that? H3198. So are they saying that the word rebuke is the same word in Hebrew as thou shalt in any wise? Well, in Hebrew it is, but does that make much sense in English? You see, they be doing that because the translators, of course, not of course, but they did, just historically speaking, they took certain liberties. And we're not against the translators way back then because, of course, as knowledge increased, Daniel's prophecy says they shall go to and fro, right? And knowledge shall increase. So I don't know exactly what they were working with. But from today's view, for right now view, I say this is confusing, right? Thou shalt in any wise. The word wise, this is not the word for wise right here, right? Although yakach, right, like reproof, right, rebuke can make you wise, but what it is both words are the words yakach, because it's saying the intensity of it, the intensity of it. We're going to bring out the Hebrew just now, right? Thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. Sometimes they give you these notes, and when we read the note, sometimes we're like, really? And then when we get into the study, we like many times the notes are right on. This note is right on right here. So instead of and not suffer sin upon him, right? The more better and more truer to English, right? For today's understanding is that thou be not sin for him. Suffer sin, because suffer, when you think about suffer, right? Are you suffering? It's an emotional thing, right? But the word suffer, what's the word suffer? What's the word suffer? Nasa. Wait, come on now. Nasa means to lift up, doesn't it? Oh, but some folks out there, you know, on TikTok or whatever, every time you're like, oh, Nasa means to deceive. How many of you have heard that? You probably can look it up right now. If you go around, look up NASA. People who don't know Hebrew, they give you some Hebrew highlights and everything. They'll see that NASA means to, and they compare it with NASA. NASA, the space agency, right? They say in Hebrew, NASA means, well, actually, I say Nasha because we can read the Hebrew. The word Nasha, right? The word Nasha means to deceive. Okay, let me show and prove this right here. We'll come back to this right here. We'll come back to this. Is it I before E, right? Except after C, right? Is that how we do it, right? I before E. Yeah, sometimes I get that. Let's see, because he no. The word we're gonna look up is beguiled, right? Beguiled. Beguiled. Okay, let's look up word beguiled, right? Beguiled me. You see what it says right there? Let's look at the word right here. There we go. So to all these people saying, and of course to those who did it because you thought it was correct. It looked like it was correct. Why there's no chet sin uckery on you unless you don't reprove yourself about that and correct this and update it. Though I know some are still going to be pushing. No, nasa means because you made yourself believe that. But we're showing and proving right here that the word nasa means to lift up. NASA means to lift. It makes some sense in that context, right? NASA, the space agency, they be lifting up rockets in the air, right? Isn't that what they do? They be lifting up rockets in the air, right? Right? They want to be way up there in the lower atmosphere, right? They say the atmosphere actually reaches as far as the moon, the atmosphere of the Earth. I don't know if you found out about that, but just a little word to the people on the NASA thing. But the main point here is that NASA does not mean to deceive. Nasa means to lift up, right? The word nasha, you see, nasha, right? Nasha means what? To beguile, to deceive. What word is this? Nasha. Or if you want to say the phonetics is funny, man. The phonetics they be having, North Shore. Who said North Shore? No, sa. Right? No W glide at the end of it. There's no W glide. It's sha, right? Not nor, shaw. No. But if you want to do that, maybe that's your accent, your mother tongue. So be it. Hopefully we'll understand, right? To beguile, to deceive. That's what NASA means, right? I mean, Nasha. That's what Nasha means. To lead astray, Nasha. So we can say that Nasha. See, now you get into Hebrew, how even in the Hebrew there's rhyme and there's pun. So Nasa, they're about all that Nasha, right? They're about God leading astray, deluding, seducing, beguiling, like the serpent did right here, where Yahweh Elohim said to the woman, "What this thou hast done?" And the woman said, "Ha Nachash." The who? The Nachash, right? The Nachash. The serpent, the Nachash, right, beguiled me, nashad me, right, and I did eat. So you see that right there? Just one more time for one to take a screenshot of that Nasha. See Nasha right there? This is Nasha, right? Let's go right here. So there we go, Nasha. Keep it at the transliteration. The English transliteration is correct. Right, the phonetics is not quite correct, but anyway, you see down there, BDB, to beguile, to deceive, right? Nasha. Right, Nasha. Now let's go over here back to heart, heart, right? Hate and heart. This teaching right here. So what we and not suffer sin. So with the word suffer, you see the word suffer and not suffer, they have the H5375. That's nasa. Right? What does nasa mean? Nasa means to lift up. Nasa means to bear up. Nasa means to carry. Nasa means to take. Let's look at the sense of it. So this word, nasa, biblical Hebrew word nasa, but it's also a shared Afro-Shemitic word, right? Even in the Amharic, we say tinsaye. Tinsaye, right, comes from, Nessa. Nessa is the the Ethiopian Amharic way, and also good is later Good's way of saying, to lift. Tinsai, resurrection, Tinsai. Tinsai come from Nessa. Nessa is related from the Amharic with the word nasa, right? And both of them bear the same meaning. Bear, lift, bear up, carry, take, lift up, bear, carry, support, take away. You see what the word can also mean to forgive? You see right here, to forgive, right? Why? Because according to the Hebrew, right, the Hebrew understanding, sin, chatiyat, sin and guilt, guiltiness rests upon them conscience. Guiltiness is like a heavy weight on their conscience. In fact, in the Hebrew understanding, and BMW, Bob Marley and the Wailers, and other Rastafari that speak about how guiltiness like rests on their conscience, right there. There's like a heavy burden. That is a perfect way to understand the Hebrew innocence, the innocence of this idea of, nasa, right? To lift up, right? Because sin is like a burden. So we say, what psalm is it? Psalm 90, one of the 90 psalms. I don't recall exactly the psalm right now. Slichali, forgive me for that. But one of the 90 psalms where it says about the God who forgives, right? God who forgives, El no say, right? El no say. In fact, I already admitted that don't recall the exact psalm right here, but I don't like the fact that I cannot recall the psalm right here. It's one of the 90 psalms. I think 90, is it 93? Let's see right here. The God who forgive. Oh, not forgives. King James, on King James. So it's forgiveth, right? It's forgiveth, right? Forgiveth, right? Where is it? For you're God who forgives. Okay. Thou art, okay, one more. See, the translation sometimes, as I get more into the Hebrew, sometimes I don't know, I just don't always remember the exact, because then I can translate it for myself. But here we go. Let's look up the Hebrew. I remember the Hebrew. Right, okay, L, no say. No say. No, let's see. No say. Is it? Okay, give me one moment. Bear with me right here. Let's see. I don't know. Say Psalms, Samuel. Okay, right here. Okay, I don't know. Say. Okay, one more. Oh man, it's not enough right here. Okay, let's do this right here. Let's look up Psalm. Yeah, just to make this point. I think it's 93, is it? 93. Oh, 90, 99. My bad. 99. There we go right there. El no say 99. El no say, right? 99 and 8. Let's go into the verse right here. Let's compare the verse. Let's see how they translate in English. So I didn't remember the KJV translation. Forgave us. Oh my goodness. I said forgives, right? I said forgives, and I recognize that they don't really do that right there, like forgive us. I thought it was forgive us. So I said, let me just put forgive, but they put it like in the past tense, forgave us. There we go, forgave us. Thou art a God that did what? Forgave us them. So if you go with the people who say that nasa means to deceive, what the translation would be. It would be a blasphemy. It'd be a slander. You know what I mean? But here, thou art a God, El no say. So this also brings another divine attribute. Thou answerest them, O Yahweh, he who be, Eloheinu, I almighty power. Thou wast El no say. Thou, El no say, right? Thou wast a God that forgavest them. Though, right, thou tookest vengeance upon their inventions, tookest nakam, right? Nakam upon their alila. Now, alila. Now I know someone say, well, what about aliyah? You really want to go there right there? No, okay, this is a deed. This is a deed of doing, right? Now, this is a deed of doing. How can we explain this? For man, it's something that is bad, like man really being bad. Some people try to say that God is wicked. Our God is because he does evil, or he allows evil things, and he creates evil. He creates those consequences for uckery, right? And people say, hey, this is the alila. But this comes from this one, Allah, right? Aliyah, right, comes from Allah, not Allah, the Mohammedan thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, we'll get into the little linguistics. It means to act severely, to deal severely, to make a fool of, right? To make a fool of, right? And it's often used in the context of Yahweh when he punished, like say the Mitzrayim, and when he punished Israel, right? These are like his effects, right? Like here, this brings it out pretty good. The effect thoroughly to glean, by implication, in a bad sense, to overdo, that is to maltreat, to be saucy to pain, to impose, right? So yes, Yahweh has his exploits when it says an exploit of God, right? Or the performance of a man. But you notice when it says the exploit of God, the affecting the exploit of God, right? It's in the good sense, but the performance of man often in a bad sense. The implication is take opportunity, take opportunity, right? But be that as it may, right there, he took his vengeance on their inventions, right? And probably gave them deuces, he gave them the alila for their alila, but it's a different, it's a different word right there. Okay, so we went all the way over here, 98 and 8. Definitely going to try to remember that in the future. But anyway, so be it, so be it. Let's get this out right here. Let's get back to this. Okay, let's change this up as well. Let's go back to not that. Forgave us. I gotta remember that forgave us. Right. Okay. We're only in Psalm. Let's do this right here. Give me one moment. Okay, see, I'm in Psalms. I'm only searching Psalms. Sometimes if you're like in a particular book, or it's in a book, you can confine your search right there. So now this is searching the whole scripts, right? And the whole scripts here, we have 6 places where hate and heart is. So here in that last part, and not suffer, right? Not what? Lift up. What? Not lift up. What is this right here? Not lift up. It's in the sense of to bear, to carry. That's the sense of it, to bear, to lift up. In other words, something that's lift up, almost like by you hating your brother in your heart. You see he went wrong, he did something wrong. You're not going to reprove him because you figure he should know what he's doing, so I'm not going to tell him nothing. That's coming from your Satan in your mind, right? Especially if you say you have Yahweh, truth, and life, right? Therefore, what happens is that you begin to carry and support. You're supporting him in this. You are bearing, carrying, supporting. It's almost like you lift up that burden and you put it on your own back. That's what it is. This is the context of this right here, right? Suffer sin. Suffer what? The chet, not chet. It's not chet, right? But chet. What is chet? Chet is sin, right? But let's get to the root of the word sin. Chet is sin from chata. What is chata, right? And this is a shared Afro-Semitic word found in the Ethiopic and found in the Ge'ez as well. To sin, to miss. So chata. What's chata? Chata is a sin, to miss the way, to go wrong, to incur guilt. Remember, the guiltiness rests upon your conscience. Am I making that point right there where it says not suffer in the sense of you bearing, you carrying upon you, you bearing like on your shoulder. He messed up, but you carrying. It's like what's the saying I heard from some of my brothers and sisters from the Caribbean? They said the Afro-Caribbean brothers and sisters says drink bitters. I ain't gonna drink bitters for somebody else's fever. You get the idea, like you ain't gonna drink bitters for somebody else's fever. Like you ain't gonna take medicine, right, for somebody else's sickness. Because if you take the medicine and you well, what's that gonna do for them? That's the context of Leviticus 19:17. This verse here in 19:17. So if you don't do that, what happened is you incur guilt, right? And therefore you also are missing the way, you're missing the mark, right? And thereby doing that, you are forfeiting it. Now, you see the word purify from uncleanness, that context there of it, take a little more kind of show and prove. But let me just give a quick example here. If somebody did a chet, a sin, right? They had to give a chet. Okay. If somebody ucked up, they had to give a uck. If they said they didn't give a uck, then the uck remained on them and the guilt turned up on them, right? In other words, if they did a sin, they had to give not a sin, but a sin offering. The offering for sin was called the chata'at, from the same word. So the sin offering. What did that mean? to explain it in principle, it's like they missed the mark, did the missing of the mark, right? So they had to give the offering, right? That is known as the missing, right? The chata'at, to cause what they missed to be missed. I don't know if you can understand that right there, right? And that's where we get purified from uncleanness. I know some people will go there first, right? That was the last entry, but we can get into more detail and show and prove examples. But here's the verb, chata. Chata is the verb, chet is the noun. Chata means to miss. He missed, to miss the goal, to miss the path of right and duty. So you're suffering chet, both what he has done that you should have reproved or rebuked him, and the fact that you're not reproving or rebuking him and then say, he's my brother. He's my brother. I love my brother. But he should know what he did. I ain't gonna say nothing. That is that is up, right? To miss the goal or path of duty. Now, if you tell him, yo, you're wrong with that because Josh, and he's like, then let him. You did your part. You know what I mean? To incur guilt, right? To incur penalty by sin, right? And to forfeit, right? To be a loss, right? You see what it says to make a sin offering, the chata'at, right? In order to cause the chet, the missing, to be missed, almost like to like you have this on your account, to remove that from your account, so to speak, to purify from the chet, right? To purify from the uncleanness that's often connected with types of chet, to miss the mark, right? And therefore to bring into guilt, condemnation, punishment, right? The Hitzpal sense is to miss oneself, to lose oneself, to wander. You said to wander from the way, right? Now, when one offers the offering, the priestly sense is the secondary entry to purify oneself from, right? You missed the mark, so you gave the offering to cause that missing to be missing, right? To wipe out that missing, right? That missing sense, right? Getting down here to Strong's, and you can see by inference, you see it was by inference, you see, by inference, right? To forfeit, to lack, but it can also mean to expiate or to repent, right? In a causative sense, to cause one to sin, to miss the mark, is to lead astray, is to condemn, right? But the basic sense is to miss. Hence, it's a figurative. Generally, in the religious sense of translation, it is to sin, right? To sin, to fall short, to miss the mark. Now, lastly but not leastly, right here, I'd like to go through this just in the Hebrew right here. Let's see. Lo tisna. Lo tisna eta achika. Lo not tisna. You are not to hate. Speaking to an individual male, like speaking to a brother directly, right? Speaking directly to an individual male, speaking to one man, Israel as one man and all man as that one man. Lo tisna eta achika. Bia lebabeka, right? In lebabeka, in your heart. Lo tisna, the eye is not to hate. The et right there is the definite object marker, because the verb is tisna or lo, not to tisna, not to hate. Not to hate what? Not to hate who? Et points it to what? The verb. So et in this context, I know the aleph tau, the Hebrew sense of alpha, omega, first and last letter of the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Some people say every time you see aleph tau there, it's speaking about Jesus. No, it's not. Right? It's basically a direct object marker, right? So we can make sense out of what we're saying. Lo tisna eta achika, bia lebabeka. You're not to hate what? Who? Achika. That's this word right here. Achika, right? Bia lebabeka, right? In the I male heart. You're not to hate the I male brother in the I male heart. The ka at the end emphasizes that, right? It says hokeach. So right there, here's why it's double when it says in any wise to reprove him, right? Rebuke him, and we notice that there's a repeat of the same number. It's because the word here is hokeach, like reproving, tokiach, right? Tokiach. So it's like reproving, you shall reprove, It's like reproving, you shall reprove. That's the intensity of it. Like really, really, for real, for real. You know what I'm saying? For real, that doubling. Hokeach, tokiach. Hokeach, tokiach. So reproving, the I, male, shall reprove, right? At, reprove what? Reprove who? At, direct object marker, amiteka, right? Thy neighbor, thy companion, amiteka, right? And then it says here, the last part, it says, willow, right? Willow tisa, and not to lift up alayo, right? Alayo, alav, right? Upon him, right? Chet, and not to lift up upon him sin. It's like saying that we're not to allow our brother in that thing we should have reproved them. We know it's wrong. If we don't say anything, it's like we are lifting up upon, like we're putting sin on him, is what the Hebrew is kind of bringing out. Veloa tisa alayo chet, or modern Hebrew, velo tisa alav chet, velo tisa alav chet. Right, in the modern Hebrew Afro-Shemitic pointing, velo tisa alayo. Alayo cheta. Willow tisa alayo cheta. Not to lift up upon him sin. But look what it says. You are not to incur, right, guilt on account of him. That brings out the spirit of it as well. But what you're doing is you are putting like sin on him, because what you should be doing is taking it off him, right, by reproving him. This is where in the highland, the Israelites of Ethiopia, right? And even among many of those who are, we say Christian, but coming from that Hebrew Israelite root that was planted there, there's a tradition where, like, if I wrong my brother, right, and I wanted to show a sign of repentance, I would take a stone, I would put on my shoulder, I would go to his gate, right? I would, like, say early in the morning, like in that time before he got out to work or whatever, I would get his attention. I'll go, it could be any other time, but usually, when he's home, I will go there and have the stone on my shoulder, right? Now he has a choice, right? He can come, he can take that stone and bash me over my head, or he can do, to show a sign of forgiveness, he take that stone and put it down on the ground, right? And then, by that act, I would know that he has forgiven me. So in other words, I'm showing I'm wrong and I'm deserving of this, and him taking that stone off my shoulder and putting it on the ground is a sign. Now, you say, where'd that come from? By studying the Torah, right? You begin to recognize where that would come from a people familiar with this would do that, right? So right here, just to bring this out right here, this part here, of course, there's a little bit more, but suffice it to say for right now, we're going to segue in this reasoning, right? Because we have this Torah reading and feeding before us right here, and it's a double portion, right? But a little bit more on the tokachot.
What does the word tokaha and tokachot? Tokaha rebukes, sometimes interpreted as rebukes, chastisement, rebukes. We have this here within the Torah, and especially within the chapters 28, the rebukes, the chastisement, sometimes brought out as reproof, rebukes. The word tokaha, a confrontation over chatiyat, over sin, over akri, over lack, forfeiture. Whether it's an actual sin, an actual akri, a forfeiture, a lack, or the possibility of sinning, of lacking, as we have in even Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17. When it's applied to Yisrael, to Israel, it refers to a warning and a prophecy of a certain fearful judgment and progressively painful punishments if the terms and conditions of the covenant are unfulfilled. And this is an important theme, even though we have within many of the Psalms, rebuke I not, right? Rebuke I not, as we have even within Psalm Mizmor Lamed Chet, O Lord, O Jehovah, rebuke me, rebuke I not in thine anger. Yahuwah, Allah big etzipika, tokecheni, 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 tokecheni. Rebuke I not. Rebuke I not. It actually brings out the sense in the Hebrew. Not in anger, not in al big etzipika. Not in katzipika, not in the eyes wrath, not in the eyes anger. To ki cheni, in other words, rebuke I, but not in thine anger. If you rebuke I, but not in thine anger. So we have the word tokaha, rebuke, reproof, rebuke and reproofs. Recall that Moshe had gave further instructions regarding how to proclaim, how, in what way do we proclaim, in what way they were to proclaim the baraka, right, the blessings, and the kalala, the curses, or the aror. Now the aror, what's the difference between the word aror and the kalal, right, the kalal? We have these two words. So just zooming in right here within the scriptures, especially within Devarim and in Deuteronomy, as we come to the fulfillment of the repetition of the law. So Moshe gave further instruction regarding how to proclaim the blessings and the curses of Habarit, of the covenant in the promised land. Now, we have an earlier mention of it in Parsha Re'eh, also in Kitabo. After crossing the Yarden, the Jordan, and entering into Shechem, the tribes were to be divided into two groups. So we have 6 of the tribes on Mount Gerizim shouting Amen after the Barakot, the blessings, were announced by Halloween. And we have 6 of the tribes shouting Amen, Amen, assenting, so be it, let it be, after various curses or consequences were foretold and were announced. Now, after describing this particular rite, this ritual, Moshe, he delivered the tokaha, the rebuke, in that he foretold a terrible, a dreadful, a awful litany of consequences, or the curses, was often referred to as the curses for disobedience, including the prospect of being scattered among Hagoyim, among the Gentiles, among other nations and nationalities, the international community, because of Ha'am, because of the people, even Jah people, once lost, now found, black and brown sheep of the Beit Yisrael, their future, pointing out their future disobedience. And here we're in the dispensation, in the event horizon, right, after the fulfillment of the 400 years, but still within the prophetic iniquity of the Amorites. Now, Moshe, he concluded by declaring that the people, even Jah people, had not yet, and this is the key right here, had not yet attained a heart to know, eyes to see, and ears to hear. I found that to be a very interesting word right there. He says that the people had not yet attained a heart, heartically speaking, being heartical. They had not yet attained a heart to know, eyes to see, and ears to hear. What does this mean, Chabarim? In Devarim, in Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 4, it says, "Yet the Lord hath not given you an heart to perceive, and eyes to see, and ears to hear to this day." Now, after all that is said, we have this here, which is said, "And Jehovah hath not given you a heart to perceive," heart, so the heart perceives, and the eyes to see, seeing, and ears to hear to this day. "V'lo natani Yahuwah lakem leib lada'at le'ayinayim lirot ve'azanayim lishma'a ad hayom hazeh." Now, it's interesting here, because this particular word that we have in Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 4, "Yet the Lord, yet Jehovah hath not given you a heart to perceive, and eyes to see, and ears to hear to this day." We find it in the Brit Chadasha. We find it being quoted in the New Testament, in the Hadith Kidan. We find this quote right here, even in Romans chapter 11. In Romans chapter 11, verse 8, it reads, "According as it is written, God hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear to this day." Now, of course, there is slightly different, but the essence of the verse says that they don't have the heart to perceive. Now, what's interesting, it says, teach us, right? Teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts to Chokmah. And the key in Mashal and Proverbs, the connection in Proverbs, and the teaching in the Proverbs, the Mishlei Shlomo, the Proverbs of Solomon, with wisdom, right? Wisdom and hearticality, and being heartical and heart perceiving. Teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts to wisdom. In Mizmor Sadai, in Psalm 90 here at verse 12, so teach us to number our days. Limnot Yamenu Kain Ho Da'a. So teach us to number our days, that we may get I and I a heart of wisdom. With Nabi Levav Hakma. Teaching us to number our days, that we may apply heart of wisdom. With Navi Levav Hakma. Teach us to number our days. Limnot Yamenu Kain Hoda'a. With Navi Levav Hakma. Wisdom and getting to know, getting the gnosis, the da'at, the Hebrew da'at, the da'at. Now the da'at, the word da'at is knowledge, and then we have it as dat, the eish dat, fiery law. It's interesting because as we study the Hebraic word or interpretation of what we know as religion, it comes down to two words. One of them is dat, the dat. What is dat? Yes, dat, the da'at, the knowledge, the gnosis. But here it says that according as is written, where is it written? You can compare some verses from the prophets, but we also compare here from Ha-Torah, from the Torah. Deuteronomy 29, in some manuscripts, Hebrew manuscripts, it's the third verse. KJV, we have it as the fourth verse. Yet Jehovah hath not given you a heart to perceive, and eyes to see, and ears to hear to this day. After all that is said here, after all that we have said here, we have this concluding word, this concluding statement, Lo natani Yahuwah lakem leib lada'at, ve'aynaim lirot, ve'aznaim lishma'a ata hayom hazeh. And the next verse says, and I have led you 40 years. So this is speaking of a dispensation period of time of 40 years in the Midbar, in the wilderness. And what's mentioned next? Your clothes are not waxen old upon you, and thy shoes is not waxen old upon thy foot. Which also speaks to the nature of the once lost, now found, the black people, the black sheeple, to the Israelites. Their clothing was important to them. And he said that your clothing didn't become old, and your shoes, you had good kicks, footwear. Clothing and footwear is important to so-called black people. Called black lives are materialistically. But the heart perceiving, the eyes seeing, and the ears hearing, there is still that blindness. And here in Romans, the epistle to the Romans, chapter 11, they say chapter 11 in the world, in the Seclurum, chapter 11 is called bankruptcy. How interesting is the epistle to the Romans here in chapter 11? It speaks of the spiritual Yisrael. That's not Israel just according to the flesh, not because you know you're an Israelite that you say, because now you know that you're not just a Negro, or so-called black, colored, or so forth and so on, that you are Israelite. But that alone is the spiritual, it's the spirit. The spirit is key. Spiritual Yisrael. It's finding salvation. But national Yisrael, national, fleshy, carnal Israel is and was judicially blinded. This is the section here in Romans chapter 11, and we have a section from verse 7 to verse 12 that reads, What then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded. But the called, the chosen, the faithful, those of the new name, precious name, that new name, the elect, Rastafari, obtain it. But the rest are blinded, according as it is written, God, Elohim, have given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear, to this day. And David saith, Let their table be made a snare, and a trap and a stumbling block and a recompense to them. Make their eyes be darkened that they may not see, and bow down their back always. I said then, have they stumbled that they should fall? Elohim, God forbid, Khalillah, Jah forbid, but rather through their fall, through the fall of Yisrael, through their fall, salvation is come to Hagoyim. Salvation has come to the nations, the nationalities. Salvation has come to the international community to provoke them, to provoke the Israelites to jealousy, to zealousy. Now, if the fall of them, speaking about the Bnei Yisrael, speaking about we black people, the fall of us, the fall of them be the riches of the world, and the diminishing of them, the riches of Hagoyim. So diminishing of us, you see our condition as the once lost now found, and we see the condition of other nationalities. But it says, now if the fall of them, the riches of the world. So our fall, the riches of the world, flesh, the seclorum, and the diminishing of them, the diminishing of the Israelites of I and I, the riches of the Goyim, of the Gentiles. How much more of their fullness? What happens with our fullness coming to fulfillment? So here, in this time after the 400 years, this word is important. Scrolling forward in Romans, the Epistle to the Romans, verse 25 of chapter 11, verse 25, it says, for I would not, brethren, that y'all should be ignorant of this mystery, lest y'all should be wise in your own conceits. See, wisdom is good, but not wisdom in our own conceitedness, like the ain't right Israelites. That blindness in part. Get the word? Blindness in part. They're seeing, but they're blind. Because what about the heart perceiving? That blindness in part has happened to Yisrael until the fullness of Hagoyim, the fullness of the nations, be come in. So here, and coming to the standing, Nitzavim, we had ki tetzeh, when you go forth, when you go forward, ki tabo, when you go in, when you become in, when you go in. And here, Nitzavim. Well, let's reflect first of all. Let's reflect on the tokaha. What are the tokaha? Reflecting on the reproofs, reflecting on the rebukes, reflecting on the tokaha, the tokaha. So we have tokaha in the singular, tokahot in the plural sense. Coming to this great chapter 28. Now, often we may look at the chapter as just the curses for disobedience, because so much of the chapter, from verse 15 to verse 68, is the tokahot. The tokahot. What is the tokahot? The rebukes. The rebukes. And what are these rebukes? What are the rebukes? We find the rebukes in Devarim, in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 15 to 68, also in Vayikra, in Leviticus chapter 26, verses 14 to 46. So compare, if you will, Leviticus chapter 26, verses 14 to 46, and Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 15 to verse 68. And let's look into some of the differences. What are some of the differences in the tokahot, the rebukes, given in Leviticus chapter 26, and the ones given in Deuteronomy? The two main tokahot, rebukes, reproofs, given to Yisrael, to the Bnei Yisrael, to the sons of Israel, in HaTorah, we could say, given to the black man. This is the so-called black man, the black and the brown man in the Americas and the Caribbean. There are two main tokahot. The first is given in the end of Vayikra, the end of Leviticus chapter 26, verses 14 to 46. And the second, the longer one, is given during Moses, his farewell speech, his farewell address, his speaking even to that new generation, the youths and the new generation of the Israelites in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 15 to 68. The rebuke in Leviticus, it ends with some hope. The rebuke in Leviticus, the rebuke in Vayikra, it ends with some tikva, some hope, some expectation. Quote, nevertheless, when they are in the land of their enemies, I will not have rejected them, nor will I have abhorred them, to destroy them, to break bariti, my covenant with them. Ki ani Yahuwah Elohehem, for I be he who he be, their Elohim, their power, their true good, their true God. We find this in Leviticus chapter 26, verse 44. So there's some hope in that verse. Nevertheless, when they are in the land of their enemies, I He who be HaKadosh, Baruch Hu, Baruch Hashem, the Holy One, blessed be He, blessed be the name. He says that I will not have rejected them, nor will I have abhorred them to destroy them, to break my covenant with them. But the tokaha, the tokahot, the rebukes, the reproofs that we have in Devarim, in Deuteronomy, it intensifies. It's like turned up without any sense of reprieve. The first tokaha is stated in the plural. The first rebuke, the first reproof is stated in the plural and was delivered to the nation, to the people, to the Bnei Yisrael, to the Israelites as a whole, directly from the mouth of Elohim, the true good, true God, the power. Now the second tokaha, second rebuke, reproof, is stated in the singular. We have the singularity sense, and was delivered to individuals, the indivisible duals, the individuals from the mouth of Moshe, from the mouth of Moses. The longer rebuke given by Moses, how many curses, how many consequences does it contain? It contains 98 curses, 98 consequences. Exactly twice as many as the 49 curses, the 49 consequences that are listed in Vayikra, in Leviticus. Now, according to the sages, the first rebuke, tokaha, concerns the destruction of the first temple and the Babylonian exile, whereas the second rebuke, it concerns the destruction of the second temple, circa 70 AD, and the Roman exile that continues to this very day in the diaspora, especially here in these Americas and the Caribbean. Ezra the scribe decided that the curses in Leviticus were to be read before Shavuot, which is the time of the giving of HaTorah, before the harvest. And the curses, the consequences in Devarim, in Deuteronomy, were to be read before Rosh Hashanah, before the Yom HaTeruah, the day of the trumpets, known as the head of the year, so that the year and its curses, its consequences can come to conclusion. It is often difficult to find volunteers to publicly read this portion during the synagogue services. In traditional Judaism, it's very difficult to find volunteers to read this publicly, to read the curses for disobedience publicly, this particular portion here. And I, as one who has aliyah this portion, it is a very difficult, challenging to go straight through and to read the tokahot, the 98 curses, the 98 consequences. But let's ask a question, further question. What above all else, what above everything else is the cause of the fall, as the Apostle Paul mentions, as he mentions even in the Epistle to the Romans? What above all else is the cause of falling under the curses, of falling under the consequences? And we zoom in to Deuteronomy chapter 28 to verse 15, where the curses, the tokahot, the 98 of them begin. What does it say? It says, Lo tishma b'koli Yahuwah, disregarding, not hearing, Lo tishma b'kol Yahuwah, disregarding the voice of Jehovah, and failing to perform his commandments, his mitzvot, his commandments, his imperatives, and the decrees, the statutes, the chukim. This will eventually and has brought about all the curses, ha-kalalot, the curses, the consequences, ha-kalalot, that we find listed in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 15 to 68. So the cause of falling, the cause of the fall, what does Hawaria Paulos, Paul, Rav Shaul say in Romans 11:11? I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? Chalila, God forbid. But rather, through their fall, through the fall of the Bnei Yisrael, the sons of Israel, the Israelites, through their fall, salvation has come to Hagoyim, to the Gentiles and nationalities. Why? For to provoke them to jealousy, to provoke them to zealousy. Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world and the diminishing of them, the riches of Hagoyim, the riches of the nations, the nationalities, the international community, how much more their fullness. So above all else, the cause of the fall of the so-called black man, the fall of the once lost, now found, the fall, even over the past 400 plus years, falling under Ha-Kalalot, is because of Lo Tishma'a Bikoli Yahuwah, Lo, not hearing to the voice of Jehovah. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. Shema. Why is the Shema? Hear, give ear, hear. Why is it so very important?
Hear, O Israel. Hear, O Israel. Hear, O Israel. Hear, O Israel. What does Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad? Hear, O Israel. Hear, O Israel. The Lord, our God, the Lord is one. What does that really mean? And why is it important?
Man, stand his plan. All he needs to do is follow the spirit, which is legit. That is how we'll all grow. Know him, Elohim. Man, stand his plan. All he needs to do is follow. Man, stand his plan. Man, stand his plan. Man, stand his plan. All he needs to do is follow
Yes. Hail up, Desiree. Yes, Jah Rastafari, Donai. Today's daily psalm is Psalm 67. Look up Batalawa right there. But here we're in a double portion. Double portion here for Nitzavim, one standing, Vayelech. Here, let's touch on some of the first words right here. Also, some of the Q&As. Still might try to get in at least 14 of them, and then hopefully in the forwards we'll touch on like a breakdown on tithes, right? The tithe, the fullness of the tithes, and some key points and principles. If people were taught the Torah, they would never get caught up with the whole tithe game in many of the churches. One's giving is giving. Yeah, one can give free will offering, but putting that duress upon the people and all this other kind of, hocus pocus, that's other gods. That's not Yah's way. That's not the way of Yeshua HaMoshiach. But be that as it may, pick up on that. But here for this double portion.
Shalom, Chabarim, Shalom. This weekly Torah portion reading and feeding is a double Torah portion reading and feeding for the RSS number 51 and 52 for Nitzavim-Vayelech, or more correctly, Nitzavim-Vayelech. This double portion, beginning off here, the eve of Ethiopia Kingdom of God New Year, so a Melkam Adis Amet Adarasachu, a beautifully good New Year be to thee, brothers and sisters, family. Yes, I, Rastafari. We have a double portion, double Torah portion here for the 51st and the 52nd weekly Torah portion reading and feeding in our annual cycle of Rastafari sabbatical studies for this sabbatical strong here in the Kingdom year, Ethiopia, the Kingdom of God, New Year, and Melkam Adis Amet and Degna being again. Here, the first Hebrew words, the Hebrew first words for this double portion for the RSS 51 and 52 for Nitzavim. First, Hebrew first word, Beshem Ha'ab, wa Habein, wa Ruach, HaKadosh, Yahuwah, Ahad. Hebrew first words. We pick up here in Deuteronomy chapter 29. We pick up with verse 9 in chapter 29. First words here. Atam nitzabim hayom kulkem lifnei Yahuwah Eloheikem rashekem shibatekem zikanekem with Shotarekem, Kol Ish Yisrael. Ye are standing this day, all of you, before the Yahweh, your Elohim, your heads, your tribes, your elders, and your officers, even all the men of Israel. Hebrew first words for this weekly Torah portion, this double portion, the first part, the RSS number 51 for Nitzavim. Atem Nitzavim Hayom Kulkem Lifnei Yahuwah Eloheikem Rashekem Shibatekem Zikanekem Ve Shotarekem Kol Ish Yisrael. Ye are standing this day, all of you, before Yahuwah Eloheikem, before the Yahweh, your Elohim, your heads, Rashekem, your tribes, Shibatekem, your elders, Zikanekem, and your officers, Shotarekem, even all the men of Israel. Kol Ish Yisrael. First part of this double portion, the second part for the RSS number 52 for the 52nd Torah portion reading and feeding 99 annual Rastafari sabbatical studies for this sabbatical strong. Vayelech. Here we pick up with chapter 31. Chapter 31, verse 1. Vayelech Moshe Vaydaber et ha-debarim ha-eleh el kol Yisrael. And Moses went and spoke these words to all Israel. Hebrew first words here for this RSS number 52 for Vayelech. And he went. Vayelech Moshe. Vaydaber et ha-debarim ha-eleh el kol Yisrael. And Moshe went. Vayelech Moshe, and spoke these words to all Israel. Hebrew first words for this double portion. As I'm looking forward to the Rosh Hashanah, more scripturally, biblically known as the Yom Teruah, the feast, the day of trumpets, as we conclude this ecclesiastical year here at the end of the ecclesiastical, the churchical year in this season, as we have begun in this season, Ethiopically speaking, 2010, we begun the kingdom year, and now we fulfilling the churchical year, the ecclesiastical year, even here and on the air with this double portion. Nitzavim, ye, y'all standing, atem, nitzavim, and Vayelech Moshe, and he went, and Moshe went. Shalom, Chavarim. Shalom, 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 shalom.
Yes, brothers and sisters and brothers. That was previously recorded right there, but still applies to the Torah reading and feeding, the double portion right here. Here we're in the 7,517 long count, short count, 2017, Ethiopically speaking. But here, we have a psalm, today's daily psalm. Like I said, sought to touch on the some of the Q&As and touch on the details of the tithe. The tithes, they took place in a seven year cycle. It wasn't like every week. Wage earners wasn't required to pay tithes. Those who had land, sons of Yisrael who have received inheritance land, those who own cattle and land, they were required, and there were different tithes. There was different sets of tithes, even one set of tithe, right, that was for ones and ones in their family, right? So they would save up, they would tithe up the tithe, and then they would bring it with them to Jerusalem during the, Shalosh Regalim, right? And if it was too much to bring, they would turn it into kesef. What is kesef? Kesef is silver, actually, in Hebrew, Ivrit, Yehudit is silver, kesef. Basically turn it into money, right? So you hear some say that tithe wasn't money. In principle, that is true. The tithe wasn't money, but the tithes could be turned into money for ones and ones in their family. The mind, of Israel who received that land, that nachala, that inheritance, and had produce of the land and cattle, but he was urged to remember the Levite, the stranger, Hagir, the stranger, the proselyte, the stranger, or like the newcomer, to the religion. That word Ger also refers like the convert, as well as the stranger. The yatom is like the fatherless or the orphan, as well as the almana, right, which was the widow, almana, as well. So right there, we're going to touch on that. It's very interesting, the sets of tithes, how they were done, and one can see, hopefully one will have a better view, and then it would contrast so sharply with what ones and ones. Like we said, not everyone in Israel paid tithe, but those who had received inheritance land. Remember the Levites didn't have no inheritance, no nachala, as far as with the other 12. Right, their inheritance was Yahweh, was the holy place, and therefore those who had received inheritance, the rank and file Israelites, in a 7-year schedule of tithe giving, would save up during those years. Yes, I'm saying about years, save up, and put aside and then bring it forward. But gifts and offerings, like, free will offerings, one was always free to do that. but tithe is like a tenth of your income. And also income was qualified as the income of the land and the income of the animals of the land. So the increase, right, of the land. So even within a modern income tax sense, since some of it is somewhat relative from the European, British common law, some biblical things, for the better kind of crept in or were put in. For example, if I'm not recommending this, but still some have done these things, right? Understanding that income is not wage. Right now, we're not advocating, give unto Caesar, we're advocating give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. But this is the kind of question that they try to pose to Yeshua to catch him out there, because he was explaining what was what. People saying, so you saying don't pay no taxes? That's not what we're saying. What we're saying basically is that understanding what income is. All right, wage is wage. One's wages, you work for this much, you get those wages. So those in Yisrael who were like working, say, for someone who owned land, right? They was a wage earner, they would not. But during those feast times, if they worked for a man who was an Israelite and he had land, right? And they didn't have any land, even if they was an Israelite, but they didn't have any land, you know what I mean? During those feasts and festival times, right? If that man was Torah observant, he would take him and take them and, but he saved up those tithes for him and his, the family and his whole household. That means servants and whoever was on that inheritance land and was like a co-laborer or was a Levite, was a stranger, was a orphan, was a widow, right? They would basically feast during those feast times. So tithes actually being spent on ourselves. Think about that. Did the church, most of these so-called, the ones who call themselves churches out there, in Jesus' name, do they teach you that about the tithe? In other words, put up those tithe because during the holy feasts and festivals, you're going to use that, for yourself, your family, and everyone who you're responsible for to have a, I won't say a party, but to celebrate, during the high feasts and festivals. No, they don't teach you that. They like, give me so I can get a new plane. I get a, car. The Lord said, yeah, anyway. So here, let's pick up with today's daily psalm. All right, today's daily psalm, first ear, Psalm 67. Yes,
Psalm 67.
מזמור סמך זין למנצח בנגינות מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר.
God be merciful unto us, and bless us, and bless us, and bless us, and bless us.
אלוהים יחוננו ויברכנו, 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 ויברכנו. יאר פניו איתנו, 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 איתנו.
And cause his face to shine upon us, to shine upon us, to shine upon us, to shine upon us.
סלע, 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 סלע.
Selah, 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 Selah. That thy way may be known upon earth, upon earth, upon earth, upon earth.
לדעת בארץ דרכך, 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 דרכך.
Thy saving health among all nations, all nations, all nations, all nations, all nations.
בכל גויים ישועתך, 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 ישועתך.
Let the people praise thee, O God. Let all the people praise thee. O let the nations be glad and sing for joy. For thou shalt judge the people righteously and govern the nations upon earth. Selah. Let the people praise thee, O God. Let all the people praise thee. Then shall the earth yield her increase, and God, even our own God, shall bless us. God shall bless us, and all the ends of the earth shall fear him, 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 shall fear him.
Yes. Today's daily psalm is more Samek. Hebraically, alphanumerically, is Samek Zain, Samek Zain, Samek Zain. Means more Samek Zain, means more Samek Zain. Here, Samek stands for the number 60, numerical value of 60 in the Ivrit, in the Hebrew, the Yehudit, and Zain, the seventh letter of the Yehudit, aka the Ivrit, Hebrew Aleph Beit. So here, Mizmor Samek Zain, Psalm LXVII, Mizmor Samek Zain, Psalm 67. Now here I have the Sefer Tehillim, the hard copy here. Been looking for a PDF to share, but here we also have the K and D Kyle and Delich. Now here the psalmist theme. Let's go to the top right here in the summary, K and D summary, as harvest thanksgiving song. It's a harvest thanksgiving song. Here in the hard copy, the Sefer Tehillim, the Psalter, book of the praises, we have universal praise of God, universal praise of Elohim, of Eloheinu, of Yahweh Eloheinu. Now, note here in the season, according to the royal order, because our schedule of Psalms is from the ancient, we say, tribe of Judah, Beta Israel of Ethiopia. Also, these Psalms in the order are in the Tawahedo church, right? The Ethiopian church as well, are observed right here. The evening Psalms and the daily Psalm. Today's daily Psalm is Psalm 67. Now, notice what it says. It says, like Psalm 65, 1 to 13. This Psalm, this means more. Remember Psalm 65? We had that a couple of days ago in the schedule, right? Means more Samek Hay, right? And that theme, they harvest, right? What kind of psalm is it? A harvest psalm. This season right here of the year of the Shana, especially as we approach, the time of the Yom Teruah, right? The day of trumpets, aka Rosh Hashanah, Yom HaKippurim, the day of the coverings, atonements, right? We say it's not Yom Kippur, as some lazy Yehudi might say, you know what I mean? But it's actually Yom HaKippurim, because two different things. It means two different things in Hebrew. One means day of a covering, a atonement, and the other from the Torah, Yom HaKippurim, mean the day of the coverings, the atonements, right? For Kol Yisrael. Almost like an ancient insurance policy right there. 5 days after, we have the Shabua long, the 7th to the 8th day, right? Shemini Atzeret long, right? Celebration of tabernacles. It's called, in the Gentiles, call it tabernacles, Sukkot. Actually, it means huts or booths, pavilions, almost like dens, like temporary structures, shanties, right? Sukkot, right? It's interesting because Jacob, Yaakov, Abinu Yaakov, in the translation, first you have Sukkoth in the English as Succoth. In the KJV, King James Version of the Bible, Succoth. Sukkoth, as they would say, Sukkoth. But that right there, you see it's in connection with like booths and huts, like for booths for like animals. But this is what the Bnei Yisrael tried, and they tried it in temporary huts. They built huts for themselves during the wilderness tribe, the Midbar tribe, like shanties, huts, shanties. In Ethiopia, they have the tikkul, those circular thatched houses where they use a lot of the greenery in the construction, the boughs of the trees. That's what the Sukkot instruction instructs right there. But the whole season is often referred to as Sukkot. So taking the 7 Mo'adim appointments or feasts and festivals and putting them into the 3 times of the year, often in summaries referred to as Passover, Pesach, Shavuot, harvest or Pentecost, and Sukkot, right? But within the 3 times of the year, we are to fulfill the 7 appointments, right? The Mo'edei Yahweh, right? The feast, the festivals, the Mo'edim, Mo'ed is like an appointment, Mo'ed, and then we have the Mo'edim. The Mo'edim are the feast, the festivals, the appointments. So here we're coming up to the latter harvest. There are 2 harvests, 2 rains, the early rain, the latter rain. The early rain corresponds with Pentecost or harvest, or what's called Shavuot, right? And then we have the latter rain, right, at the end of the year, as the Torah says, at the end, emphasis added, end of the year, right, when we gather in our crop. So we have a harvest time coming up, the latter harvest, here, in the 7th month, the 7th moon. Harvest Thanksgiving song. So according to the royal order, the Psalms even reflect that Torah truth, right? Even in the time and the season. So Psalm 67 as well, a harvest Thanksgiving song. So here, just going through a little bit of this right here, like Psalm 65, a harvest hymn, this psalm, Mizmor Samek Zayin, is inscribed to the presenter with accompaniment of stringed instruments, a psalm. So we have a special kind of a psalm that's actually a psalm, right? A psalm. They have it a little bit in reverse right there. Instead of psalm, a psalm, a mizmor shir. Full of full, la menatziyach, be niginot or binginot. La menatziyach, binginot, be a niginot. Upon the string instruments, upon the niginot, be by way of niginot, together, binginot, be niginot. La menatziyach be niginot, la menatziyach binginot, mizmor shir. To the presenter, menatziyach, with accompaniment, be string instruments, niginot, with accompaniment of string instrument, the harps, binginot, binginot, mizmor, a chant, a psalm, Isis, mizmor, shir, a song. Also celebrates the baraka upon the cultivation of the ground. The cultivation of the ground, the increase of the ground, the land, the Adama of the ground. As Psalm 65, 1-13 contemplated the corn, or more correctly, the grain, right? The grain and the fruits, as still standing in the fields. So when we chant Psalm 65 in the Medi, it's like the corn or the grain and the fruits are still standing in the fields. So this psalm, Mizmor, this chant, Mizmor Samek Zayin, Psalm 67, it contemplates, as it seems, the harvest as already gathered in, right? Already gathered in the light of the redemptive history. Each plentiful harvest is to Yisrael, to Ainai, the Beta Israel, a fulfillment of the promise given in Leviticus 26:4. Leviticus 26:4. Where natatiya gisha mekem be'itam, where natana haaretz yebula, where eitza hasada yitena priyo. Okay, bring this out right here. Let's compare, right? This KJV. What does this verse says? Then I will give you rain in due season. So prayer for rain. Rain is good, but rain is especially blessed and power to prosper when rain is in due proper season. Then I will give you rain in due season, and the land shall yield her yibulah, right? Her increase, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit. Here, the Ivrit, with natatiya gishmekem, the Geshem, gishmekem, your Geshem. What's the Geshem? Bring that out. The Geshem, right? Geshem, right? Geshem, not Goshen, but Geshem, rain, shower, right? The rain, the shower from the Gasham to rain, to send rain, to shower even violently, the strong storms, you know what I mean? For the good for the land, right? With and natati, with natati, and I will natan, I will give a geshem, your geshem, your rains, itam, in the proper eight, in the proper season, in their season, itam, itam, when natata, right? When natata haaretz, and she shall give when natata haaretz, and she shall give in the land, she shall give yebulah, her yebula will give her yebul. What's our yebul? Yebulaha, right? Her produce, her fruit, the produce of the soil, the produce of the Adama, right? The produce, the crops. In the figurative sense, that's wealth there, right? That's real wealth right there. Her increase, and the trees Wa'ait, or actually in the Hebrew says, and the tree of the field. Va'ait hasada, wa'ait hasada, and the eights of the hasada, wa'ait hasada yitain, and the tree of the land he will give. Interesting, perio. He will give his fruit. Then look at the word tree. The word tree is eights, the eights, right? The eights, the tree, the wood. There we go. It's a noun masculine. The tree in Hebrew, eights. So just looking at the Hebrew and seeing how the verbs agree, right? The earth she shall give, right? The earth, the eretz, she shall give. So he and she right there, right? The earth, right? Noun feminine, she shall give her increase, yibulaha, right? Her increase. So that's Leviticus 26:4 just built up on. And a pledge that Yahweh Eloheinu is with Amo, his people, Amo, his people, Amo Yisrael. And that his mission to the whole world of the peoples shall not remain unaccomplished. This mission tone, referring to the end of Yahweh Eloheinu's work here below, is unfortunately lost in the church's closing strain. God be gracious and merciful to I and I. But it sounds all the more distinctly and sweetly in Luther's hymn. So this is like a little commentary comparing the Hebrew with the times of, you could say, Christianity, right? There are 7 stanzas, 7 verses, 7 stanzas. Twice 3 2-line stanzas. Musically, ones will understand this well. Having one of the 3 lines in the middle, which forms the class or spangle of the septiad, like septiad, the sevenfold like division, right? A circumstance that is strikingly appropriate to the fact that this psalm, right, Mizmor Samek Zayin, is called the Old Testament Paternoster. You know what the Paternoster is? Paternoster comes from the Latin pater, father, noster, our. Basically, the our father, the avino, the abino, the abuna, right? It's the Old Testament was called the Old Testament our father, right? The Old Testament paternoster in some of the old expositors. So some of the old Christian expositors, in looking at the psalm, they thought the psalm as like the Hebrew type of abino or avino. Abinu in Hebrew corresponds to Abuna in the Ge'ez, our Father. Abuna Zebeh Semayat, our Father who art in heaven. Abinu Sheba Shemayim in the Hebrew. Abinu. The second half of the 3-line stanza begins in Psalm 67:6, exactly as the first closed in Psalm 67:4. Right? Yebarkeinu. That word there in the Hebrew, Yebarkeinu. May he bless us. May he cause us to prosper. Is repeated 3 times. Take note of Hashalush HaKadosh, the true Trinity, the Hebrew Trinity. Yid Barkeinu, repeated 3 times. He gives his fingerprint by seeing the 3s, how the 3s are even within the word, the Hebrew scripture. 3 times. Why 3 times? Because we say Kadosh, 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 holy, holy, holy. Father is holy, Son is holy, the Holy Spirit is holy. Yebarkeinu, man was made in the image and after likeness, right? He has spirit, soul, and a carbon organic structure called a body. Yebarkeinu is repeated 3 times in order that the whole, all in all, may bear the impress of Habaraka, the impress of the priest. That is threefold. So the Hebrew blessing of the priest at the end of the Nazarite chapter 6 of Numbers, we have the priestly baraka, the priestly blessing. Did you notice it's also a trinity, Hebraically, shalush, right? It's a ha shalush ha kadosh, the Holy Trinity, he who be ha kadosh, baruch hu baruch Hashem. It's threefold as well, right? So in the Brit Chadash, it was a new thing. Right, it was a new thing at that time because the church, or the Jewish church, scribes and Pharisees and Sadducees, they were greatly in apostasy. They were greatly falling off. You know, it's like we look at the black church. At one time we can say, yo, that was a real black church, but then we see it fall off. Right. So time and dispensation, time and judgment. Psalm 67, verse 1 to 2. Oh, that's a great video film if you can find that. a dub poetry film, Time and Judgment. Yeah, see if you can find that. Anybody get a link of that? Share it, please. Psalm 67, 1-2. Right? The psalm here means more Samek Azain. It begins in the first verse, Elohim. Yechanenu wa we barkeinu yair panayo wa itanu selah. It begins with the words of the priest's benediction, the priestly benediction that we find in Numbers chapter 6, verses 24-26. Of the priestly blessing in Numbers, at the end of Numbers chapter 6, the Nazarite chapter. Ain't that interesting? The Nazarite chapter. Numbers chapter 6, verse 24-26. So what we have here is the priestly benediction. By the Hebrew, there is eternal. Eternal. Now we'll get into that in the notes as we ride up right after this right here. But from the notes, eternal, the translators often translate that God be gracious to us and bless us. May he cause his face to shine. How does the KJV have it right there? Let's bring this out right here because it's different in the Hebrew. It says to chief musician on Nigino, being Nigino, a song. The or is not there. They add that. It says Elohim be merciful to us. Elohim yichanein and bless us. We barkeinu with and Yebarkenu all together now. We Barkenu, we Yebarkenu, we Barkenu, and bless and empower us to prosper. Cause his face to shine. There we go. Upon us. You see what it says upon us in the KJV? Here in the Hebrew, Yair Panayo Itano. Modern Hebrew, Yair Panav Itano. Yair Panav Itano. Ancient pointing, Yair Panayo Itano. Eternal. So what we have right here in the notes where it says by eternal, the church desires for itself the unveiled presence of the light diffusing loving countenance of its Elohim, almighty power. Here after the echo of the holiest and most glorious benediction, Baraka, the music strikes in. All right, with the second verse, Psalm 67:2, the Baraka, the Baracha, bracha, contracted, expanded, loosen the musical chord, baraka, tighten the chord musically, bracha, baraka, it passes over into tefillah, la da'at, to know, right, is conceived with the most general subject that one may know, that may be known. Thy way, that thy way, ones may know thy way, and thy way may be known. The more graciously, Elohim, I creator, Eloheinu, I creator, I judge, attests himself to the church. When we say the church, we're talking about the church in the wilderness, church. All right, that's why in the new covenant, it's basically Kehillah is church, right? New covenant sense, coming from the Hebrew kahal. Kahal in the Torah is the assembly. Just to make it simple, don't get caught up on these Gentile words. The more graciously Eloheinu attests himself to the church, the more widely and successfully does the knowledge, the da'at of this Elohim spread itself forth from the church, right? The Kehillah over the whole earth, from the assembly over the whole earth, right? Then they know his, that word is derek, his way, darko, his way, the progressive realization of his counsel and his Yeshuato, his salvation, his victory. The next word right there, Yeshua, the salvation at that this counsel aims. The salvation not of the Beit Yisrael merely or only, but of all humanity. That's the mission for Yisrael. Yes, Yisrael was chosen for a special purpose, and that purpose was to baraka all of Yahweh's creatures, right? And to bring them into the fellowship of his son, of Yisrael, and his son, the Elohim, right? The Bein Elohim Chaim, Yeshua HaMoshiach. But here, it wasn't even then for only Yisrael, but in other words, the world can get the baraka if Yisrael's off. The world's going to be more messed up if Yisrael doesn't fulfill its mission. So in a sense, when we look at everything that's happened can we take responsibility according to the breaking, violating of the covenant? Be that as it may, right there, we're going to pause on this since we went through that whole thing right there. But this is just to put this into context, because I think we did touch on this earlier in the Shabua. Now, the previous Shabua. Now, there's some notes here that we have as well that kind of brings out the same basic sense, the same basic idea, universal praise to Elohim. It is usual to connect this psalm with the 65th Psalm as a hymn of Torah, of thanksgiving for an abundant harvest. That followed soon after the victory, the Yeshua. Yeshua Hebraically means salvation, but also means military-wise, it means victory in battle, right? The victory, the Yeshua over Assyria. But the mention of the earth's produce, if it is to be so understood, is limited to a phrase in verse 6 in the KJV or verse 7 Hebraically. The main theme is the summons to all peoples of the earth to pay homage to Eloheinu, Einai Elohim. In the Yehudi Kedush, Kedase, a liturgy, the Siddur, the Psalm, Mizmor Samek Zayin, Psalm 67, is appointed for recital at the termination of HaShabbat. So while we ride up this at the termination of Sunday service, HaShabbat, right, to inculcate the fine lesson. What's the lesson here, Chaverim? Here again, we have the note struck of the working week with its hopes of prosperity. With its hopes of what? Prosperity. Also, Yeshua also is prosperity too, right? And directly salvation and saving, right? By extension, victory, military-wise. But this all leads to what we can call true prosperity. But with the psalmist, prosperity lifts the eye from the Aretz to Shamayim, from the earth to the heavens. And so this psalm, Mizmor Samek Zayin, is a tefillah, a prayer for the Yeshua in the widest sense, and not for the Beit Yisrael only, but for the whole world of the peoples, right? His creatures, our Elohim's creation, right? The Beta Israel, right? The Beit Yisrael's baraka, blessing, is to be a baracha for all humanity. Here in particular, the psalmist in I does more. Slicha, here in particular, the psalmist in I does more than adopt. There's more than just the mere adoption of the priestly formula from Numbers chapter 6, right? Adopting the priestly formula. He and I claims for Beta Yisrael, for the Bnei Yisrael, for Yisrael, the sacerdotal dignity, the priest, Israel was supposed to be like almost the high priest, right? The high priest for humanity. That's the sacerdotal dignity. The Beta Israel is the world's high priest. This is from the Torah context. So when we have the Bein Elohim Chaim being the high priest, because Yisrael's off, you can see that divine stopgap measure. If the Beta Israel has the light of Yahweh Eloheinu's face, Ana Elohim's face, his grace, the world cannot remain in darkness, disillumination, and the choshek. In other words, if that was true, the world would not be the way we see it be even today. Yisrael, Ana, the Beta Israel, can show that he possesses this light by the manner in that he, I and I, Ani Va'ani, bears I and I selves during the days of business and activity that are ensuing. So the Shabbat, seeing that this psalm is also the Shabbat seal psalm, bringing us into a new working week, the Shabbat, it passes, right? As it passes, we rise up this chant. But if it leaves behind it the sense of this truth, this emet, ha-emet, right? Then the week's work, the Shavua's work, it begins with the assurance, always faithful, always sure, of a successful issue and increase. The traditional association of the Sabbath and the fulfillment with HaShabbat with this psalm, Mizmor Samek Zayin, Psalm 67, supports the usually accepted interpretation of verse 6, right, in the KJV. So take note, verse 6. Hebraically, if you look in the Hebrew, that'll be the Hebrew verse 7. But another has been proposed that will be noted as we move forward. So right here, let's ride up today's daily psalm just to hear this once again.
Psalm
Hebrew.
67.
מזמור ס"ז למנצח בנגינות מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר, מזמור שיר.
God be merciful unto us, and bless us, and bless us, and bless us, and bless us.
אלוהים יחוננו ויברכנו, 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 ויברכנו. יאר פניו איתנו, 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 איתנו.
And cause his face to shine upon us, to shine upon us, to shine upon us, to shine upon us.
סלע, 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 סלע.
Selah, 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 Selah. That thy way may be known upon earth, upon earth, upon earth, upon earth.
לדעת בארץ דרכך, 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 דרכך.
Thy saving health among all nations, all nations, all nations, all nations, all nations.
בכל גויים ישועתך, 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 ישועתך.
Let the people praise thee, O God. Let all the people praise thee. O let the nations be glad and sing for joy. For thou shalt judge the people righteously and govern the nations upon earth. Selah. Let the people praise thee, O God. Let all the people praise thee. Then shall the earth yield her increase, and God, even our own God, shall bless us. God shall bless us, and all the ends of the earth shall fear him, shall fear him, shall fear him, shall fear him, shall fear him.
Shall reverence him.
Shall fear him.
Shall respect him. Reverence in that sense. There. So verses 1 and 2. Here. Let's ride up right here. Today's daily psalm, verse by verse. Mizmor Samek Zain. Samek Zain. Psalm 67. Psalm LXVII. Have this as a harvest Thanksgiving psalm. Universal praise of Eloheinu. Ainai Elohim. Verses 1 and 2. The recognition. Recognize. Got to recognize the recognition of Eloheinu. Ainai Elohim through Yisrael, through Ainai, as the B'nai Yisrael and the Beta Israel. So recognition of Eloheinu, Ainai Elohim through Yisrael. Here, to chief musician on Niginot, a song. Elohim, be merciful to us, to Ainai, and bless and empower Ainai to prosper, cause his face to shine upon us, upon Ainai, Selah, Selah. Dear Psalm pours the interlude right there. Here, the Hebrew, including the first verse, Hebrew wise, and then the superscription, right? First verse, second verse, all contained here in the KJV as this one verse. Lamanatziach, bin ginot mizmor shir, Elohim yechanenu. Some say, Elohim yechonenu. We avarkeinu yair panayo itanu selah. Here, the note here brings this out correctly. Instead of upon in the Hebrew, see in the priestly blessing, it says upon. When the priest give the blessing in Numbers chapter 6, right, the end of the chapter is like upon. Right, Numbers chapter 6, verse 24 is like upon. But here, the language is changed up right here. Right, in this psalm right here, it's adapted. It's like adaptation. So the upon, it says with. Etano. Etano is like with us. Etano, right, with us. Right, etano, right, with us. Etano. So here, the verse is based on the priestly Barake benediction, Numbers chapter 6, verse 24. In place of shine upon, the preposition here is like toward or with. Right, eternal. Let's go down to Tanakh right here as it goes through each word. Eternal, the et, right? We said et ano, eternal, right? Et eternal. Anu is another way of saying us in Hebrew. The short form anu, the long form, the pronoun anachnu. So basically it's et near, right? With, near, together with, et anu, itanu, et anu, near of relationship. You see right here, with, nearness of relationship, right? Nearness, nearby, with us, near to us, with us, not just upon us like an umbrella, right? But with us. Like he will walk amongst us, he walk with us, he will be in us, with us. The variation gives an impression of closer contact of men, of humanity, with the luster, the shine, with the shine of the divine Elohim, Elohim's light, and of yet greater condescension in Elohim. So there's a nearness here, right? Even adapting and building up on the priestly benediction, there's a nearness, but there's a closer, right? A closer relationship, right? But also it shows a greater condescension, right? Where it says that Yahweh Eloheinu, he bowed the heavens and come down, right? He bowed the heavens. He comes down to our level. Chant. That's a powerful God. Some people say the only thing God can't do is become less than himself. They're talking ridiculous. That's antichrist talk. You know what I mean? You know what we mean? If God is almighty, then why can't he? If he want to do that, he does it. But for him to do it for I and I is a greater condescension, right? You know, he bend the heavens. You know, he bowed the heavens and come down. So this kind of brings it out where it says, and cause his face, panayo, right? Fanav, right? To do what? To shine with. Notice that sense, with, eternal, with us, right? With us. So when they see I and I, right? They see I and I Elohim. In the Baraka, that should be the case. That's what we chant and we walk it out and live it up for that, you know, blessing that shine with us, right? So when they see us, right, that's the sense of it, right? Like when Robenu said, how long I've been with you, and you ask to see the Father. When you see me, you see the Father. You see that shine, that divine shine right there. Elohim, Ye Chanenu, we Barkenu, Yair Panayo, Itanu, Se La. Here, this brings us here to the bait, Hebraic, the bait verse, the second verse right here, the bait verse. Let's go KJV wise first. Now, all of this is connected. I want you to mind, even though it's one verse, second verse, but see how the flow of the idea continues, right? Right? To shine with us, right? That, or so that thy way may be known. In other words, let your face shine with us so that the I way, thy derek, ha derek, the way, truth and life, the I way, right, may be known upon earth, the earthly plane. Thy saving health among all goyim, among all heathen, among all nations, among all Gentiles. See, so the second verse is connected with the first verse. Elohim be gracious to I and bless I and I. May he cause his face to shine, right, toward or with I and I. Elohim yechonenu vibarchenu, yair panayo itanu selah. La da'at ba'aretz darkeka b'kol goyim yeshuateka here la da'at, right, for what purpose? La da'at, that it may be known. Yada da'at, yada la da'at is knowledge, but here it's expressed as a verb. The noun is da'at, but with a la da'at, this is the verb sense of to be known. La da'ata ba'aretz, right? Where? Ba'aretz, in the aretz, right? In the eretz, in the earth. What to be known in the earth, right? What to be known in the earth? Darkeka. The eyes, derek, darkeka, the eye way, thy derek, darkeka. Now notice the thing about the word derek is that derek is like a road, like trodden. But notice the secondary sense really brings it out. So when Robenu says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life, you know, he wasn't speaking it for a Christian or somebody who never read Torah. It may sound like a new thing or something like that. You know, they say, oh, like a lot of new things. But anybody who look at it from a Yehudi, a Hebraic perspective, we get to understand the truth of the matter. Figuratively, a course of life, the derek, right? The way, right? A mode of action. So not literally just a path. As a path, it's a well-trodden path. When the figure of speech is a course of life, a mode of action that we would know he who be Yahweh Eloheinu, his way, right? La da'ata ba'aretza darkeka, and we will make it to be known ba'aretz, in ha'aretz, in the aretz, in the earth. Bikol, amongst all goyim, bikol goyim, among all nations, among all nationalities, ethnicity. Bikol, call mean all, bikol, in all goyim, amongst all the goyim, the nationalities. What? Yeshuateka. Yeshuateka. Yeah, Yeshuateka. That thy way may be known upon earth, thy saving health. Right? That way. Notice the connection of the derek in this verse, the way, the derek, right? And the Yeshua, right? Yeshuateka, right? Yeshuateka. The eyes, Yeshua. La da'ata ba'aretz darkeka. B'kol lagoyim Yeshuateka. Here, that thy way may be known upon earth. This is an emphatic formulation of the thought that appeared in the two preceding Psalms. So if you go to Psalm 66, 65, and 66, the preceding Psalm, you'll find that this verse here is an emphatic formulation of the thought, the Medi, that appears in the two preceding Psalms. Elohim's gracious dealings, right? His gracious dealing with Yisrael, with Israel, with the Beit of Israel, with I, will be the means of turning all peoples, Goyim, call Goyim, all Goyim toward him, toward Hailahim, towards Yahweh Eloheinu. Here, to the Gimel verse. Gamel, the Gimel verse, the third verse, right? The third verse. Now, at the third verse, when we get to the third to the fourth verses, this section is may all humanity, all human beings, right? All humanity acknowledge him, acknowledge Hailahim, Eloheinu, I, Elohim, right? Right? The Elohim and Father of Yeshua HaMoshiach. Yes, I, Rastafari. Here. May the people praise thee, O Elohim. May all the people praise thee, the I. Yodu Ka. Yodu, let them praise Ka, the I male. Let them praise the I male. Yodu Ka, Amin. The people's Elohim. Let the peoples praise the I, O Elohim. Yodu Ka. Let them praise the I, Amin. The peoples, Kulam, all of them. Kulam come from call. When we say call, like all, here the kulam. They say all of them. Yoduka, Amim, Elohim, Yoduka, Amim, Kulam. May the peoples give thanks. Yodu, the Yodu, right, from the Yada sense. And Yada linked with the Yad, the hand. Right? Put your hands up. It's like saying, may the peoples put their hands up in praise to Elohim. May the peoples, all of them, put their hands up. Right? Well, right? The arms. Remember, the arm is the people, the people, the nation. Here we have Amin. Yoduka, Amim, Elohim, Yoduka, Amim, Kulam. In recognition of his mercies to them, seeing as he shines with us, his face is shining with I, and his baraka upon I. All the other peoples, right, must recognize. This is for them to recognize, so they can acknowledge, right, Eloheinu as truly Ha Elohim, our Elohim as a true Elohim, right? There was none before him, and there's truly none after him. All the others are just other people's mental mentalizations. Yoduka Amim Elohim, Yoduka Amim Kulam. Also, the deception of the adversary, the enemy. Right? Be that as it may, the Dalet verse. So see this section here, may all the nations acknowledge, right? May they act on the knowledge, right? Oh, let the nations. So it's the peoples, right? The peoples are me. Here. They have the word nations here, but let's see if we can do this right here. Here it's a le'om. Le'om is a community. They say people, nation, but really it's a community, right? So it's like all the nations and all the ethnicities. That's how, in today's way of understanding it. So may all ethnicities be glad and sing for joy, for thou shalt judge the people righteously and govern the nations, right? Govern the ethnicities upon the earth. Selah, Selah, the pause, the dia, Sama, lead. So to govern, right? Where it says right here, and govern or lead, right? To be the what? The head, right? And not the tail, right? Yismechu awia ranenu leumim kia tishpot amima mishor, right? Mishor. U leumim ba'aretz tanachem selah. Tanachem selah. Okay, here. Right? Yismechu we ranenu leumim kia tishpot. Right? Kia tishpot. Okay, this here you can see with the notes right there, the HGPD. Sometimes they sometimes have the Septuagint, right? And they compare from the Septuagint back into the Hebrew, right? Some of the little differences. But here, the standard Ivrit here, Yismechua wiya ranenua leumima kia tishapot amima mishora ulumim bareta tanachem selah. Rule, right? Let's see what we have right here. First of all, may they be glad, sing for joy, for thou shalt judge. You see the word shafat, right? Shafat, right? Where it says ki tishpot, ki for tishpot, for the eye will shafat, tishpot, ki tishpot, amin. You will judge, right? The peoples, right? Mishor. Here they have righteously, but it's not tzedek, it's mishor. What does mishor mean? It means level, right? And a level up, right? Cause them to level up. The sense is of uprightness, mishor. Mishor is like a level, a plane. Mishor, the sense of it is in concord. It comes from the word yashar, upright, the yashar, mishor, right? That which is level, mishor. Right. So what we have right here, that's how he would judge. In other words, level scales. You see a lot of time when they have like courts and stuff like that, they have scales, and a lot of times the scales are like out of balance. No, he will on a level, right? He would judge the people on the level and govern, right? And govern, the word for govern is nacha. Here in the verse it says, U le umim, and for the communities, the ethnicities, ba'aretz, in the land, right? Tanachem come from the root nacha. Tanachem. He will lead, he will guide, right? So here, let's touch on the word judge, shafat. Shafat, though means judge, it can also mean to rule, right? So in the spirit of the word right here, to judge, you see what it says to rule, to govern, right? Of God and of man, to rule, to govern, also to judge, right? To decide a controversy. The sense here is to rule over them, even to overrule them. That means, in effect, the reign of righteousness, right? Malkia Tzedek, in that they will enjoy shalom, right? Peace and happiness. But what will he do also? When it says govern the nation upon the earth, the Hebrew of it is to lead. The Hebrew is to lead, or to lead. You see when it says govern to lead, right? To lead, nacha, right? He will nacha. He will lead the nations. As it says, well, not the nations. Okay, let me break this down for you. Because see, right over here, it has the word le'om. In the previous verse, it had goyim. So goyim is the nations, the leom, right? Leumim, the umim from leom is the singular. Leumim, right, is the community, right? And in the context of as it's used in the Hebrew, right, that would equate with ethnicities of today when we talk about ethnicities. So there's a full breakdown of goyim, nations, right? Then you have amim. Amim is people groups. Then among the people groups, you have the lomim, the communities, right? So he would govern the communities upon the earth, or the ethnicities, quote, nations, right? The verb is used of Elohim guiding Yisrael. So the verb here in tanchein, right? Tanchein means like guide them, right? Tanchein from nacha, right? It has a same sense of Elohim guiding Yisrael through the wilderness. So if we look into the wilderness narrative, right, even in the Psalm 80, let's see, LXX 78 and 14, 78 verse 13, verse 14, for example, and also in the Torah, this verb is used as well to guide. The implications to transport, right? It could be transport into exile or transport as colonists out of exile. So when it said he was leading them, right? In that sense, he was guiding Yisrael through the wilderness to the promised land. In the same way, he will guide the ethnicities, of the peoples, right? The same guidance is at the disposal of all peoples if, like the Beit Yisrael, the Bnei Yisrael, like Israel, they accept him as their Elohim, right? If they accept him as their Elohim and put away their Elohim Acharim, their other Elohim, right? Here. This here now brings us to the next, right? The next important section and the closing section right here, verses 5 to 7. Verses 5 to 7. So here we come to the hey verse. Hey, the hey verse, right? Let me just compare the version I'm seeing on the screen with what is written. Okay. Nahon, it's correct. Here it says, may the peoples praise thee, O Elohim. May all the peoples praise thee. This here is like a repetition of the third verse. It's like the chorus line. It's like the refrain, the chorus line. Yoduka amim Elohim. Yoduka amim kulam. Yoduka amim Elohim. Yoduka amim kulam. May the people, right? The people praise thee. Yoduka, right? And the Yoduka is like thanksgiving, thank thee, but it has an implication of using the hands, like put your hands up, right? Just to bring that out. Yoduka, Yodu, they will praise. Ka, the I male, comes from this word right here, praise. But let's get down to the Strong. Strong says right here, what it says right here, it says, there we go. This is the idea in the Hebrew right here. This is the idea. May they praise the Yoduka, to revere or worship with extended hands, right? With extended hands. Like I said, put your hands up. Yoduka, Yodu to the I. Yoduka, Amim Elohim. Yoduka, Amim Kulam. Kulam. All of them. So a repetition of the earlier verse, but possibly with a change. Some say for change of meaning. This is the repetition of the third verse, right? KJV wise. Some say for possible change of meaning. If the verse is a refrain, if we take this verse as the chorus line, that repeated verse, the chorus line of the song, it should more appropriately be connected with the previous section. But the introduction of the selah, the interlude, the pause, right? The interlude right there, it suggests that a new paragraph, a new section begins here. Accordingly, it is better to render instead of a hope as a hope. Like some people say, well, this is what they expect. This is what was being prayed for, what was being hatikva, tikwa, a hope, right? Instead of interpreting it like that, let the peoples give thanks. This should be like the confident assurance So not as a hope, like, well, we hope that the people will give thanks. No, it's a confident, always faithful, always sure that the people shall, right? The people shall. Not like may they do this, but they will do this. Yoduka Amin Elohim. Yoduka Amin Kulam. Kulam. Here, bringing us to the Vav or the wow verse, the 6th verse here. Then it says, you see KJV put then, right? Then, right? The then is not there, right? The earth shall yield her increase. The more correct of this from the Hebrew, the earth shall yield her increase. The earth has yielded her increase in that sense. The earth has yielded her increase. May Elohim, our own Elohim, bless I and I. May Elohim, right? Our own Elohim, right? Bless us. I know in the KJV it says shall, but that's based on the how it's interpreted by the interpreter right there. A more better of this is that the earth, right, has yielded. The earth yields, right, her increase. Eretz natana. Eretz, the earth, natana. The earth, she yields, or she gives. Literally, she gives. Eretz natana. She gives. Natana. That's how we know it's pointed there for she, right? So we know that's connected with the eretz, she. Eretz natana yevulah, yebulaha, gives her yebul. She gives her yebul, her produce, her fruit. Yebulaha, yebulaha, and we emphasize the ha. You can say that yebulah. You hear the hey, yebulah. To more emphasize it, Yibulaha, her, right? So the earth yields, right? She yields her increase. Yivarkenu, he blesses I and I. Yibarek anu, Yibarek, he blesses anu, I and I. Yibarkenu, Elohim, the Almighty, the Creator, the Judge. Eloheinu, I and I, right? I and I, Elohim, our Elohim. So Elohim, our Elohim. Those words in italics, then and even, is not there. So here, the earth, right? May the earth yield its produce. The earth has given, the earth gives. Eretz natana yibulah, right? Second part, Yebarkenu, Elohim Eloheinu. Yebarkenu, Elohim Eloheinu. Pick up on the rhyme right there. There. The earth has yielded her increase. Eretz natana yebulah. The fruitful harvest is considered to be his baraka, and the sign of ritzono, his favor, his ratzon, right? His favor. This is the Targum. This Targum is rejected by some. When it's a Targum, that interpretation. So there's an interpretation that the fruitful harvest is considered to be his baraka and the sign of his favor. Now, some would reject that interpretation. We're just reasoning here. We can reason on what we think about this, but just to share the reasoning. In M. Lazarus, in something known as the Ethics of Judaism, based on this, here's what he says, and it's an interesting reasonment, so I share it here with the island. A literal interpretation of verse 6, this verse here, Eretz natana yibulah, Yevarecheinu Elohim Eloheinu. A literal interpretation is not, some say, according to this line of reasoning, in keeping with what goes before. Right? In other words, reading the psalm and seeing all the verses, the 5 verses that have gone before, right? Coming to this verse, right, as a literal interpretation, it is said not to be in keeping with what goes before. For example, questions are asked. How could the poet, right, descend so abruptly from the heights of so-called world ideas, right? Some say global ideas, to cornfields and vineyards? How's it going to go from what precedes, right, of the nations, different nations, salvation, relation with Israel, and then come all the way down to the idea of cornfields, fields, and vine, yards, and how tame, right? According to this reasoning, how tame the prospect that if or because Eloheinu gives food to Ha'am, to Amo, even Amo Yisrael, to I and I. All the ends of the earth will adore him. So this is an interesting reasoning. There's something to his reasoning here, right? As you said from the intro, there was this reasoning, right? On these grounds, he explained something interesting about this word here, Yibul and Yibulah, her increase, right? What is it that is reason on here? Yibulah, Yibulah, at the end of this exquisite psalm does not mean vegetation. So his interpretation is that this Yibulah and the earth shall what? Eretz anatana Yibulah, right? That the earth has yielded or yields her increase is not speaking of just vegetation, but in the figurative sense of produce, in the figurative sense of product, of the product, right? The product. All nations praise Eloheinu, Ainai Elohim, for his moral government, for his moral theocracy of the world, right? Is the highest product. What's the highest gross national product, right? What could be the highest gross national product? Is it that they have good corn and wheat and food and grain, or that government, right? That government, even the government of the King of Kings, right? That government, right, has as its highest, right, product, right, his moral government of the world, genuine morality. That, in other words, he's saying that this is not really speaking of the crops, right? When we put it in context of the psalm, yes, it means produce, but it means here in the second of the two Hebrew truths as the product of righteousness, right? The product of shalom and peace, right? You know what I mean? Like His Majesty Gormawi Negusa Neged says that peace is not it's a becoming. It's based on those day-to-day decisions, right? You know, righteous decision, principle decisions, you know, moral government, genuine morality. So when it says, God bless us, right? God bless us, Yebarkeinu Elohim, blessing us, Elohim, the creator, the judge, Yebarkeinu Elohim, God bless us, Elohim bless us. And if he blesses us, I and I, Yisrael, the Beit Yisrael, the Bnei Yisrael, the Beta Israel, then all the ends of the earth will fear, will reverence, will respect him. Then the uplifting consciousness, then people's conscience will raise up, will come up from hell, come up from the gutter, right? The uplifting consciousness of the divine government, right? Or the moral order, or the King of Kings' moral theocracy, right? Of the true world government will spread to the uttermost limits, to the outer limits. Now, in support of this reading of the text, we actually agree with M. Lazarus here. In support of this reading of the text, he quotes this here from Psalm 85, LXXXV and 12, where it says that truth springeth out of the earth. Truth springeth out of the earth. I know I'm here, and let me just go over here, right here. We'll come back to this right here, brothers and sisters, just so one can see this. 85, and okay, we're going to go for verse 11 because the numbering difference. Is this the verse? There we go. It's the verse, right? The number difference between the Hebrew and the English is often a verse over many times in the psalm. Truth shall spring out of the, look at that. Truth. Is truth a crop? Like, can you like plant? I plant the seed of truth, and yeah, I got some truth in my backyard. Is that how it is? You understand the sense of what M. Lazarus is saying? Truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from the heavens. Here. Emet me eretz titzmach with tzedek mi shamayim nishkaf, right? Truth scrutinized, nishkaf, shakaf, Shakaf, overhang, to lean out. Like, yeah, shakaf and nishkof, right? Like to lean out a window, to peep. You know what I mean? To peep, right? Like to peep, to gaze, right? So what it's saying right there, look down, but it's like kind of like you leaning out of a window, like the shakaf sense right there, or you peep, you pre, right? So righteousness shall pre, right, from heaven. Shall like shall look, shall gaze, shall kind of peep on a level, from heaven to see whether there was any that did seek the way, the truth, and life of the King of Kings Christ. So right here, to back up that interpretation, that in verse 6, where it speaks about the earth yielding her increase, it can be applied to cornfields and vineyards, but in the full, even the Brit Hadasha sense, is really being applied to that moral theocracy, that moral governance, right, of the King of Kings and the King of Kings Christ. Emeta me eret titzmach with edeka mishamayim nishkaf. Truth shall spring out of the earth. Right? Amet, truth, the emet, like emet till, emet, truth, firmness, faithfulness, may from eretz, from the earth, yitzmach, shall samach. What does it mean to samach? To sprout, to spring up, to bud up. Right? It can be applied to plants, it can be applied to hear, it can be applied figurative to speech, to grow abundantly or thickly, to grow, to sprout up. This goes with another verse where it says, and that man will be called the branch. Samach, right? That man will be called the branch. Right there. So here we have the metaphor. Here's where we have the metaphor right here. Amet, may eret, titzmach. So here, just to bring it here so we can fulfill today's daily psalm right here, just had to go here. That's what I mean, here a little and there a little. All right. So ones can reason on this, then the earth shall yield her increase. Elohim, Eloheinu, Yebarkeinu will bless, empower I and I to prosper. The metaphor of growth from the soil is used in connection with a genuine moral, with genuine morality, with the idea of genuine morality, and for Yisrael, Aina, the Beta Israel, the genuine moral theocracy. There we go, moral theocracy, right? The moral theocracy idea. This is it right here. Ayabingi. Right? Notice the psalm is being note, but be that as it may, here, just a seal up right here, getting to the fulfillment verse right here, right? Elohim shall bless, empowered to prosper, I, and all the ends of the earth shall fear or reverence, respect him. May all the ends of the earth. Yebarkeinu Elohim. Where ye Yeru, where Yeru, Oto, where Yeru, and they shall reverence, right? They shall Yare, they shall fear, revere, stand in awe, to fear, reverence, honor, respect, even be in dread, right? A dread of him, to fear. Look what it says, morally, since we interpret this morally, right? They shall revere. They shall revere, right? They shall reverence him. Barkeinu Elohim with Yeru, Yeru. They shall reverence Yeru. Oto, right? Oto means him. And they shall reverence Oto. They shall reverence him. With Yeru Oto, call af say aretz. All call af say. What is the af say? Af say comes from the fs. In modern Hebrew, interesting, fs sometimes is taken as a zero, a zero to the circle, to the circle of the earth, right? But also has a sense of the end, the finality, right? The fs, right? So in the verse, it says, call afse. Afse means the ends, the cessations of, the ends of aretz. Afse aretz. So the words are connected, are joined, right? We call it constructive. Afse, to say afse by itself is like afse what? Afse ma. Afse ma afse. Like afse what? So it has to be joined, like saying Elohe, Elohe, right? Elohe, the God of, the power of what? Of who? Right? Elohe Yisrael. To say Elohai, of course, to say my Elohim. But here, afse aretz, the ends of the earth, especially of the earth, as you see right here. But FS can also mean like no further, right? And sometimes the FS is referred to as the ankle, because it's like at the extreme of the body, right there, to the ends of the earth, right there, there. This verse is understood, right, by the RV, the Revised Version translation, right, and most moderns as a declaration of faith. So most see this here as a declaration of faith. This verse here is like a declaration of faith, right? Yibarakenu Elohim Yerehu Oto Kol Afse Aretz, right? As a declaration of faith and not as a shaela, not as a petition, right? A petition, right? This here, once again, check the earlier verse, the fifth, right? The fifth verse, right? The fifth verse right there. Here. Today's daily psalm, according to the royal order of the Ethiopian Hebrews, after the order of Malachias Edek. Here we have Psalm 67. Psalm 67. Here, rise up the chant.
Psalm 67.
מזמור ס"ז למנצח בנגינות מזמור שיר.
God be merciful unto us and bless us.
אלוהים יחוננו ויברכנו. יאר פניו איתנו.
And cause his face to shine upon us.
סלע.
That thy way may be known upon earth.
לדעת בארץ דרכך.
Thy saving help among all nations.
בכל גויים ישועתך.
Let the people praise thee, O God. Let all the people praise thee. O let the nations be glad and sing for joy. For thou shalt judge the people righteously and govern the nations upon earth. Selah. Let the people praise thee, O God. Let all the people praise thee. Then shall the earth yield her increase. And God, even our own God, shall bless us. God shall bless us, and all the ends of the earth shall fear him.
מזמור ס"ז למנצח בנגינות מזמור שיר. אלוהים יחוננו ויברכנו, יאר פניו איתנו סלע. לדעת בארץ דרכך, בכל גויים ישועתך. יודוך עמים אלוהים, יודוך עמים כולם. ישמחו וירננו לאומים, כי תשבות עמים מישור, ולאומים בארץ תנחם סלע. יודוך עמים אלוהים, יודוך עמים כולם. ארץ נתנה יבולה, יברכנו אלוהים אלוהינו, יברכנו אלוהים, ויראו אותו כל אפסי ארץ.
Yes, 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 yes. Yes. That education that ignores man's intrinsic nature and neglects his intellect and reasoning power cannot be considered true education. Yes, the words of Gurmawi Karma Haile Selassie here for the outro. Hebrew dub-wise, Day song, and yes, 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 yes. The Hebrew, Ivrit, Yudi, Uma'u Yisrael.
מזמור סמך זין, למנצח בנגינות מזמור שיר. אלוהים יחוננו ויברכנו, יאר פניו איתנו סלע. מזמור סמך זין, למנצח בנגינות מזמור שיר. אלוהים יחוננו ויברכנו, יאר פניו איתנו סלע. לדעת בארץ דרכך, בכל גויים ישועתך. יודוך עמים אלוהים, יודוך עמים כולם. ישמחו וירננו לאומים, כי תשפוט עמים מישור, ולאומים בארץ תנחם סלע. יודוך עמים אלוהים, יודוך עמים כולם. ארץ נתנה יבולה, יברכנו אלוהים אלוהינו, יברכנו אלוהים, ויראו אותו כל אפסי ארץ. מזמור סמך זין, למנצח בנגינות מזמור שיר.
Psalm 67. God be merciful unto us, and bless us, and cause his face to shine upon us. Psalm 67. God be merciful unto us, and bless us, and cause his face to shine upon us. Selah. Psalm 67. God be merciful unto us, and bless us, and cause his face to shine upon us. Selah. That thy way may be known upon earth, thy saving health among all nations. Let the people praise thee, O God, let all the people praise thee. O let the nations be glad and sing for joy, for thou shalt judge the people righteously, and govern the nations upon earth. Selah. Let the people praise thee, O God, let all the people praise thee. Then shall the earth yield her increase, and God, even our own God, shall bless us. God shall bless us, and all the ends of the earth shall fear him, 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 shall fear him,
למנצח בנגינות מזמור שיר. אלוהים יחוננו ויברכנו, מאיר פניו איתנו סלע. לדעת בארץ דרכך, בכל גויים ישועתך. ידוך עמים אלוהים, ידוך עמים כולם. ישמחו וירננו לאומים, כי תשפוט עמים ממישור. לאומים בארץ תנחם סלע. ידוך עמים אלוהים, ידוך עמים כולם. ארץ נתנה יבולה, יברכנו אלוהים אלוהינו, יברכנו אלוהים, ויראו אותו כל אפסי הארץ.
Yes, yes, yes. Psalm 67 right there. Chaverim. Looking forward. Like we said, it's a double portion here. Nitzavim and Vayelech. Right? One standing, Nitzavim, and Yelech, and he went, and Moshe went. I'll go into some of the details, also some of the Q&As from the previous, like to touch on tithe as well when we pick up moving forward. But give thanks, brothers and sisters. No many ones and ones, got an early rise, I and I as well. But hopefully we get to the point where we can even push it a little bit further, right? As ones and ones, get more into the studies for themselves, Q&As, questions and answers. Let's start to get that discipleship discipline again. Even myself too, slicha, haven't been as, like in writing, it's kind of like been kind of like that rhema right now word, but let's take good notes and diligence. A new semester is picking up and beginning, at the after the high holy season. So hopefully we can come together, with other chabarim that also can, fellowship in the service here and also share in the reasonments, especially Torah wise, based on the content, both in the Torah reading and feeding, because there's enough to address. And they link to other questions as well as in the daily songs. Right here. Shalom, Haverim, Shalom, Yeshua, Shalom. Yes, I, Rastafari. May Yahweh Eloheinu B'Shem Yeshua bless the eye, keep the eye, cause his face of grace to shine on the eye and in the eye and with the eye, and give the eye Yeshua Shalom. Yes, I, Rastafari. Be well, brothers and sisters.
Man, that is